Well, I tell you, they sure know how to give us brand new beginnings and a lot to look forward to come post pay-per-view on their quarterly schedule as we approach the 1 year anniversary of AEW Dynamite. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of AEW Spark. My name is Noah Foster, and I'm just a simple man giving you all things All Elite Wrestling from what has happened over the last week to what is going to happen this week. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. As always, with AEW Spark, I like to first shed some light on AEW Dark and talk about the matches from last week's Dark. Last week, we had the following matches as, let me see here, get my notes up here, my other monitor. Two monitor system, folks. In no particular order. I basically went up YouTube clip order too, so there you go. We had Sonny Kiss versus Sir Pentico. Obviously, this was a follow-up to Joey Janela versus Lufer back at the buy-in at AEW All Out. Sonny Kiss, of course, won with the split leg assault. So Pentico and Lufer, though, very dynamic tag team, and it seems to be working for them so far as a duo. Singles, not so much. The FCW champion, Brian Cage, took on Toyo Donati in pretty much a squash match where he really didn't need the drill claw, but yeah, he still did what he had to do for the win. Eddie Kingston with a ridiculous, throw you back in the last week, spinning back elbow strike, dropped Lee Johnson where he stood. Easy win for him. The absolute Ricky Starks took on debuting Ben Carter, and with Rochambeau picked up the win. Ben Carter was a very game adversary here, had Taz sweating a couple of times. We also had Griff Garrison, I still don't know who that is, versus one of my favorites in TH2 and Helico. He broke some moves before ring. He showed off during the match, and in the end, Griff Garrison, he just could not stop this guy's momentum or flavor that he brings to the ring. And we also had, let me see here, we also had Dark Order, Anna Jay's the Dark Star of the Dark Order, number 99, the Queen Slayer, versus Skylar Moore in a pretty good match. Clearly, she was sending a statement not only to Mr. Broyley to continue to try and press him, but also to the eventual match that's going to happen, folks, to Brandy Reynolds, who called her out. And basically here, she won with a screaming rear naked choke using most of her forearm versus the elbow under the chin. Pretty good back and forth match, I thought. And Anna Jay, she's really made strides. Congrats to her so far and how far she's come in only 1 year and joined Dark Order. Following that, we also had Mr. Will Hobbs demonstrating willpower. I think AEW is heavily behind this guy as he took on Sean Legacy. Pretty quick match and showing off his willpower, he destroyed him. Following that, we also had, let's see here, I believe there was, actually that's it because it was a shorter episode of AEW Dark, which is kind of interesting to me considering literally within 24 hours, we have 11 matches. With that being said, let's go ahead and briefly talk about those matches to come tomorrow night on AEW Dark. I don't know about you all, but it feels like AEW Dark is just like that free escape, not only as a support to independent wrestling, but just a nice, anywhere from 45 minutes to close to 2 hours. The matches I'm considering is going to be close to 2 hours. Just nice little fun outlet for wrestling. Great independent talent gets a chance. You get some great debuts. You get some great tag action, and there are some storylines come out of it. And finally, after 50 episodes, we're finally getting the Dark storyline, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and briefly talk about the matches that are come on AEW Dark. We have the Butcher and Blade taking on debuting tag team duo Daniel Garcia and Kevin Blackwood. Clearly, this is going to demonstrate Eddie Kingston in showing unity and dominance in these four, the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and Blade. So I sense Butcher and Blade are going to make this a pretty quick match, deliver full depth, but I look forward to seeing what these two can bring. We also have, let's see here, Skylar Moore and Rochelle Chanel taking on Ivelisse and Diamante. These two have been on a hot streak, both in singles and in tag competition since winning the Women's Tag Team Cup. I still can't believe they're not signed yet. But apparently they'll be taking on this dynamic duo, and we'll see how well these two work once again as a team. I sense that these two are going to do it for their people with attitude, and Ivelisse and Diamante are going to get the win. Skylar Moore, Rochelle Chanel, they're going to show a lot of style, clearly. And they're going to show a lot of attitude, I feel like. And we'll see how well these two work together as a team. I think that they could. Then again, I feel like Heather Monroe and Skylar Moore be better fits together, but that's just me. We have Proud and Powerful representing Inner Circle, Santana and Ortiz taking on Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr., the duo with the best hair in AEW. And I'm just waiting for Brian Pillman Jr. to be more involved in AEW on Dynamite. But clearly, Santana Ortiz, they're going to build momentum. I sense Street Super win here as they prepare for their street fight on this week's episode of Dynamite. Brandy Rose and Red Velvet will finally face each other one-on-one. These two are familiar with each other from tag team action, but now we really see what these two can do together. One that comes straight out of your mama's kitchen versus Chief Brandy Officer. I'm sure Brandy will not be too far away. Should be a pretty fun match. I'm sure Brandy's going to try and send a statement to Anna Jay, who I'm sure will be watching from afar. If nothing else, I can see Anna Jay actually getting involved here and literally maybe sending a message or trying to choke Brandy out. We'll see. Maybe Allie will be on commentary. Yay, Allie. Anyway, we also have Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian, the newly well-engaged couple preparing for a wedding. Unlike any other, I'm sure we'll see in wrestling. Then again, Dynamite, AEW pleasantly surprises me when it comes to these types of situations. But anyway, Penelope Ford takes on Danny Jordan, who I'm sure has a lot to say in her burn book regarding Penelope Ford, recent actions, behavior, mannerisms, and Danny Jordan, of course, is great friends with Kylan King. These are two of my favorites, so I always look forward to an AEW Dark. Danny Jordan should have another great performance here, young up-and-comer. I sense Penelope Ford, though, there's some kissing, and I sense the Fisherman suplex to the bridge will give her the win. But I hope Danny Jordan really gets a lot out of this match against her. We also have Jesse Sorensen, Mr. Never Dies, taking on Mr. Willpower, Will Hobbs, as Will Hobbs continues to impress on AEW Dark. Sure, it's going to be another win for Will Hobbs. I sense he's going to be a big-time player. I'm just waiting for him to face Brian Cage, personally. And Jesse Sorensen, he brings a lot of heart and wrestling experience to the table that I'm sure Will Hobbs will definitely work off of. Should be a really good match. But I sense Will Hobbs will get the win. We also have Colt Cabana, apparently still with the Dark Order. As it says, Dark Order is Colt Cabana, not Colt, C-U-L-T, but Colt, C-O-L-T. He'll be taking on QT Marshall with Allie. Yay, Allie. QT Marshall, of course, one half of the Natural Nightmares, coming off their 8-man tag team victory back at All In, as well as his partner, Dustin, taking on the TNT champion, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Afterwards, of course, QT and Dustin, they were laid out by the Dark Order. So clearly QT is out for some redemption here and revenge, as Colt is trying to once again be in, I think, the good graces of Mr. Broyley, who really so doesn't want to do anything to do with him, especially after the fact he ate the fall in the 8-man tag, and it was the Dark Order's first loss on pay-per-view. With that being said, Colt Cabana, I'm sure, has a lot to prove. I'm sure the Dark Order will be watching off. Nobody else, Evil Uno, from ringside. And we'll see if he actually uses the discus clothesline or does he stick to what he's known for. High risk, but fun, unorthodox wrestling. And we'll see how he gets the win here. Speaking of the FTW champion, we have Brian Cage taking on the debuting Megabyte Ronnie. If you don't know this guy, you might know him from BTE. He was the guy that ate all the cake and probably pissed off Brandon Cutler. With that being said, Brian Cage is going to be out once again to prove why he is a machine. He is a dominant faction, representing, of course, Team Tag, so I'm sure we'll be endorsing him like no tomorrow. I sense it'll be a pretty quick match, but we'll see. Good luck to Megabyte Ronnie. In tag team action, on the other side of that street fight, we have the Best Friends taking on Max Stardom and Dante Smiley, as Trent and Chuck, they give the people what they want, and I expect them to do that here. Should be a good competitive tag match, and they're going to be out to send a statement not only to Proud and Powerful, but of course to impress Trent's mom. Because at the end of the day, Trent, he just wants to do his mom right, make his mom proud. Should be a really good tag match. And then we have an 8-man tag of the Dark Order as Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and it looks like, I think that is Alex Reynolds and John Silver. They take on the foursome of Private Party and Austin and Billy Gunn, the Gun Club. So can the Dark Order bounce back here and build some momentum for their so-called unstoppable dominant faction and impress Mr. Broyley? Evil Uno, I feel like, though, has also been on some thin ice as he fears his exalted one, but respects him too. I sense Mr. Broyley would be upset, though, if the Dark Order loses this match here, considering 3 and 4 finally got their first tag team victory on Dark in a tag match, and we know how great Evil Uno and Stu Grayson are as a tag team, but have yet to get the tag team gold. Then on the other side, we have one team ranked in Private Party on the top 5, and you have pretty much the undefeated tag team so far of Billy and Austin Gunn. But again, this is 8-man. This is not a standard 2-on-2, but I can see this definitely dissolving in a 2-on-2 next week with at least 2 of these 4 teams. But with that being said, I actually believe that this is actually a hard match to call considering what might actually happen here. But the last time Private Party were involved in a non-standard tag team match, they did lose via dirty means, if y'all remember that triple threat tag team event. So I am just going to say that I'm going to say that the Dark Order gets the win in this one here to impress Mr. Broyley and maybe be on his good side. And again, you want to prove that they're strong, they're dominant, they will take what they want when they want. They need to get the win here. And I sense it will be at Private Party's expense. Which leads us to the number one match I'm looking forward to. That again is 50 episodes in the making. Leva, you did your best for the initiative. Someone is finally going to get their first win in All Elite Wrestling. And the other one, in both the other men's respective words, will be the worst wrestler in AEW, the loser, and the only real singles competitor left signed on AEW with a 0 in their win column. It is Brandon Cutler versus Peter Avalon with Leva Bates. There's one or two scenarios I see happening in this match. Brandon Cutler, I feel, has better experience, is more motivated, and I can see him getting the win. When I first saw this develop across Dark and BTE, even in the tag team thing, I really, really thought that Brandon Cutler would be the first one to get the win, either for the team or out of these two, and I still stand by that. So my pick to get their first win is Brandon Cutler, unless Leva Bates somehow incites a way to make this match end via double countout, or these two tie up each other and all four shoulders are down, and we literally get this match again, but maybe leave us the deciding factor to who gets the win here. With Leva being so close to her library, Peter Avalon, but really trying to create something with these two, you wonder how Leva would really feel in this scenario and how she would handle it. But with that being said, right now, I'm just going to go with this has to end. I'm not sure what's next for Peter Avalon. Honestly, I don't think Peter Avalon needs anything else. The guy already is over enough with his mustache and robe, and he's got Leva, okay? So I think it's all right. So with that being said, I actually believe that Brandon Cutler will finally put this to rest and will get the win. So those are the thoughts on Dark, respectively, from last week and this week. Let's go ahead now and dive into Dynamite, because, woo, fuck, was the fallout from All Out loaded or what? Pretty balanced, I thought, when it came to the wrestling and overall what's next for, well, practically everybody. The only epilogue Bob really didn't get was Big Swole and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Hikaru Shida. And I'm curious to see what happens next, of course, in AEW Women's Division, because I want it to thrive. In other news, though, I would like to point out that according to reports, Serena Deeb, she did impress so well during her Thunder Rosa match in AEW Dynamite debut, and I'm so glad that was acknowledged. She has been signed to AEW, so she is no doubt going to be a huge driving force in moving the women's division going forward. And I'm really happy for her. Congratulations to her. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. So, this week's episode of AEW Dynamite consisted of several matches, number of promos, some good builds, and quite an impressive match and show to remember, and a moment that nobody saw coming, but are extremely happy that it did. So let's go ahead and talk about this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. I want to first start off, of course, with tag team action, because again, AEW, they are all about the wrestling. So we had, of course, the Lucha Brothers, Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr., they took on the duo Jurassic Express. Good competitive opening bout, but in the end, many people think the Lucha Brothers got robbed as Jurassic Express. They pulled out the win. Jungle Boy rolled up Pentagon. And boy, did things get volatile in a hurry between these two brothers. I don't know about y'all, but I feel eventually we're going to get Rey Fenix versus Pentagon El-Zero. Apologies, I forgot the name change. Pentagon El-Zero M one-on-one. And it looked like they were going to come to blows and it was going to happen shortly here. But it did not. As Eddie Kingston, with some real talk, talked about, you two are brothers. There's nobody closer than brothers. I love you, man. Look, we go a long way back. And of course, Butcher and Blade, they also tried to get into this too. At first, it seemed like they were trying to really cool everything down. And then it was about to be down among all four. But Eddie Kingston, with some real talk, he not only brought up one Blade's wife, but he also brought up, well, let's just say a missing piece to a triangle, as their British friend, of course, is not over there either. Folks, we're going to get Pac versus Eddie Kingston. I'm going to tell you that right now. I cannot wait for that freaking match. Anyway, eventually he was able to get them to shake hands, reluctantly, and bring the four together. And, of course, he winked. I don't know how much longer Eddie Kingston can keep this up. Someone's going to have to pull a move here. That's all I have to say about that. Anyway, moving on from there, we go backstage and we basically are trying to get more words from the Young Bucks by Alex Marvez. As again, the Young Bucks pretty much were wondering what's happening with all the Elite since the events that happened at All Out. As Alex Marvez tries to get a word, he eats a double super kick for his troubles from the Young Bucks. They close the door, no words. Later on that night, it was officially confirmed. Both the Young Bucks individually, they were fined $5,000. Damn. No, honestly, though, I mean, that's a lot of money, but I feel like they easily can make that up. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other vignettes here. As Lance Archer, he basically has his sights set on Jon Moxley. These two are no strangers to each other after challenging each other for the IWGP United States Championship at Wrestle Kingdom, which, of course, Jon Moxley won, and is still the champ, by the way, I might add. But, as they said, this is not the same person you faced back in January. We don't mind getting wet. We don't mind getting our hands dirty. And all you got to think about, John, right now is me. I have changed. I am coming for that title, and I will beat you because everybody dies. So is Lance Archer our next guy to lead AEW as the World Heavyweight Champion? We'll have to wait and see. In addition to that, we also had, of course, the end of a campaign as MJF basically tirated everybody in regards to his ultimate defeat. Oh, by the way, apologies. In the very beginning of Dynamite, both Chris Jericho and MJF, they acknowledged each other for being incredible future world champions, and then they both called each other losers perpetually. I thought that was pretty subtle. Man, MJF and Chris Jericho, amazing chemistry when it comes to promos. Similar mindsets, too. Anyway, the campaign has finally come to an end after MJF tirade everybody that was in his cabinet, including poor Nina. But hey, at least Nina doesn't have to smile anymore. But boy, you talk about MJF could traumatize anybody. And then one slow word, sir. It looked like Wardrobe and MJF. They were finally going to come to blows and come apart. But again, MJF, he basically suddenly said, I'm basically your only friend here. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here, and your family would not have my money, and you would not have my experience. So we're going to stick together because, again, pretty much you're my only friend. And you think Wardlow would say anything against this? No. He just basically stood there and was like, okay. And basically they said, time to change plans. We'll see what's next for MJF. It's interesting, though, considering MJF, he already has gone up to the top title. What is he going to do now? Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I honestly have no clue. Moving on from there, we get a special singles match as Angelico takes on freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy after Orange Cassidy's big win over Chris Jericho at AEW in the Mimosa Mayhem match. And his momentum kept rolling as, once again, Orange Cassidy, subtle, but he got the win over Angelico with the Orange Crust Superman Punch. And then we get Prom Profo trying to attack them afterwards. But here come the best friends, and here's the match I was telling you all about. As again, they want to end this. You owe my mother an apology if you're not going to at least give her a minivan. And I'm doing this for my mom to make my mom proud. Time for hugs are over. So it looks like we will be having best friends, Trent and Chucky, taking on Prom Profo, Santana Ortiz in a street fight to end this once and for all. Now I'm just wondering at this point, who's really going to come out on top of this? Best friends, it really seems like they have fallen from grace since losing out on the AEW Tag Team Champions. And Prom Profo, they're suddenly making some momentum, finally getting some wins, in my opinion. But I don't know. I sense something more is going to happen with this. Imagine if Trent's mom shows up and just slaps Santana or Ortiz. That would be interesting. Speaking of interesting, we also figure about what is Matt Hardy's new focus. Well, Matt Hardy's new focus now at AEW, he wants to become the AEW World Champion, eventually. But for right now, he basically came in and said, thank you for the support. Thank you for always believing in me. It's you guys that keep me going. It's you guys that keep AEW going. And as Rebby and one of his sons were there, that was a nice touch. He basically said he's going to go home, take some time to reflect, and heal fully. But he is doing fine. He is talking. And when he comes back, he will be better than ever. And he will go after the AEW World title. That is his ultimate goal, and he wishes us the best in the meantime. So it's good to know that both physically and mentally, Matt Hardy is okay. We're finally moving on from the Sammy and Hardy feud. By the way, no Sammy at all also on this episode. And I wish him the best on his road to recovery, and hopefully this slows things down now in the Hardy family, because I still think Rebby is solely pissed. That's just my opinion. Do you agree or disagree? I'll leave that to you. Moving on from there, let's go ahead and talk about, let's see. Let's go ahead and talk about the No DQ tag match, as we had Le Champion, Chris Jericho, and his partner, Jake Hager. They took on, of course, the duo, Sonny Kiss and George Noah, in a no disqualification match. Once again, the fans greet Jericho, of course, serenading his theme, Judas. And this was just an all-out affair that, of course, what is with George Noah on tables when it comes to those two things? He always has to go through one. As George Noah was planted off the stage by Hager, through a table. Sonny Kiss showing a lot of aggression here. I was impressed that he was holding up on his own. But in the end, a fire extinguisher came into play. Jake Hager not only plants Sonny Kiss, but he traps him in that chokehold. And this duo of Jake Hager and Chris Jericho, they get the win. But they also talk about what's next for them in the Inner Circle. It really is interesting how things have changed over the course of 1 year for the Inner Circle. You remember the Sex Gods, Sammy and Jericho? They had pursuits and idealisms and ideas of going after the AEW Tag Team titles. Well, it looks like Sammy might have something else planned for him, even though we don't know what yet, because Chris Jericho claimed that now we have new tag team champions. Now is a new beginning for many people in AEW. Now, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, they want to go after the AEW tag team championships. Once again, tag team pursuit, championship goal pursuit in the end, ultimately, for the Inner Circle. But now, Jake Hager and Chris Jericho, what do you call that duo? Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how far the tag team division really shapes as far as going after the titles now. And again, sometimes it seems like the whole heel versus heel dynamic, it can work in wrestling. I'd be interested to see how AEW does it here, but again, we'll have to wait and see. By the way, that was the number 5 moment of the week last week for AEW Dynamite. Now, I would talk about this next moment, but it was so big that it was number 1, and according to YouTube, the clip has 1.7 million views, so I'm going to save that for later. I do want to talk about, though, what's on the mind of the Hangman. As the Hangman basically says, I'm banged up, but I feel okay. Tony Schiavone's been for enough famous. He doesn't want to hear that generic crap. He really wants to know what's on Hangman's mind, what's next for him. Basically, he says he knows that he has screwed up. He's lost some friends. Now he's lost the tag team titles. But he and Omega, they were a dominant duo. And if he can, he wants to try and bring that back together and hopefully go back after the AEW Tag Team Championships and maybe mend broken bridges. But honestly, right now, we're just going to have to wait and see as Tony Schiavone. He wishes him the best of luck in that. And at this point, you got to wonder what really is next for the Hangman as he still slowly drinks. I mean, he is a millennial cowboy after all in distress. Is he still trying to figure out himself? He also blames the fact that, yeah, I let FTR give him my head. And maybe it was the fact that I did ride similar roles with them. I looked like them. I drank like them. I sort of had that same mentality like them. But in the end, everything I did, it is my fault. And I'm just going to have to do what I can to fix the mistakes I made. Now, how he goes about that and how far and how long it takes, we'll have to wait and see. Oh, by the way, let's move on now to a tag team champions celebration. As we have FTR and Tully Blanchard, they are in the ring. Once again, basically announcing how great and talented this tag division is. But these guys, they are the top tag team. These are your champions. As FTR and the Subways, they respect all the tag teams that were around ringside for this, including but not limited to Jurassic Express, Private Party, SCU, and many more, including the Gun Club. But in a way, they also insulted them as well, because again, they're not good guys. They are top guys, and they'll tell you what they think about you, and it's as simple as that. In the end, they really got under Luchasaurus' skin, and it looked like we were about to get another typical WWE moment with a cake being planted in someone's face, as they had cake, champagne, and ice bucket behind them on a table. But in the end, they just got out of the ring, tried to get away. Marco Stunt comes into play, and Jurassic Express dumps an ice bucket, literally, on top of the tag team champions and Tully Blanchard. And then everybody comes in the ring together and enjoys cake. Can you remember the last time we actually had a segment in wrestling where a cake wasn't destroyed or a table with a cake? I thought that was a subtle, happy touch. I really enjoyed that. And now we wait and see who's going to first step up to the new AEW Tag Team Champions, where they said, if you are good enough, maybe, just maybe, you can have an opportunity to try and beat us. And if you beat us, then maybe we'll give you a chance at the AEW Tag Team Championships. But again, that's a big maybe considering these three's mentality. We're going to have to wait and see. As we think about more wrestling action, let's go ahead and talk about one's debut. as Ty Conti, newly signed AEW, you could tell how emotional and proud she was at this moment, too, as we saw her in the entranceway. Mad respect to you, Ty. She took on the native beast, Nyla Rose, and really, it was a really good match. She really was grounding the bigger adversary, which, of course, you need to do in those type of scenarios, was really controlling her, using her kickboxing background, tried to fall back on submissions, brought a strong striking game, but in the end, Nyla Rose beast bombed her and got the win 1-2-3. Great, subtle back and forth action, good amount of time. I want more time given to the women of AEW, the sign and the future to come, because you know there are a ton of potential candidates when it comes to AEW's women's division that have impressed us in AEW Dark from the independent side. Kylan King, one of them, just saying. In the end, though, Nyla Rose, and by the way, as they're called, the Vision, Big Guerrero was out there with her too. No excuse me so far. It's a good match. And Nyla Rose stands tall over her fallen adversary. Then Vicky Guerrero grabs the mic and says that phrase of "my ears hurt, ouch." Basically, she says, we are here to take over, and we will become, once again, the AEW Women's Champion, as of course she's endorsing Nyla Rose. As she goes for a further statement, though, and damage on the fallen Ty Conti, Hikaru Shida comes out for the save and protects Ty Conti, and literally Nyla and Vicky, they just walk away. As of course Hikaru had that kendo stick. But I find it interesting here that Ty Conti, who was basically at first being endorsed by On the Day of the Dark Order to join the Dark Order, if you remember, given an envelope, and literally she gets signed by AEW as All Elite, has this great first match, but Hikaru Shida comes out for the save. No Dark Order in sight anywhere until social exclusive. We saw it later through their social media platforms. But I really like the idea of Ty Conti versus Hikaru Shida. That sounds like a really good match to me. And maybe Hikaru Shida and Ty Conti, they can build some sort of tag team chemistry, get under Anna Jay's skin, and maybe this is a longer storyline to maybe build Anna Jay versus Hikaru Shida. Anna Jay is on the banner for the Full Gear poster. It looks like we're going to have a lot of rising stars that have been made for AEW as part of the Full Gear card. I'm really looking forward to that. AEW has done a lot in 1 year with a lot of its roster and a lot of talent that you didn't see coming. Names that probably nobody knew that are now super huge, and I greatly respect that. In the meantime, before I talk any more about AEW, let's welcome on a guest to the show, shall we? He's known as a good doctor. It is my good friend, Dr. Bradley Campbell. It's been a while since I've seen this gentleman. I'm sure he's been taking care of people. Bradley, how are you? It's been a while.
Yes, sir, it has. Sorry I'm a little late getting on.
No problem, man. I mean, this is the way I do AEWSPARK now. And hello, Lindsay. Nice to see you. As you know, I just do AEWSPARK, and those that want to join in, I just send the invite, and people want to join in. It's as simple as that. So first off, Bradley, how are you? And I wanted to get your thoughts definitely on this. What's your overall takeaway from AEW All Out?
Okay, well, I guess first off, I am on PTO. So I've got the week off.
Nice.
And the weekend we saw some family and we went pop-up Funko shopping. Yeah, being the Elite, we really need to get those AEW pop-ups going. So we need to write Tony Khan and make that happen. But
he listens to the fans.
Yeah. As far as All Out goes, seemed like there was very, very mixed response.
Mm-hmm.
I overall thought it was a very good pay-per-view. And I guess the reason why is because I felt like when you watch wrestling, the key is you want to leave your viewers feeling like they got their money's worth and they can go home saying at the end, wow, that was really fantastic. That was great. What a match. I feel like they did that with the last 3 matches.
The championship matches, basically, and I completely agree. They were my favorite matches of the night.
Yeah, they were absolutely incredible. It's just, there were some heavy bumps that occurred, and I think it was a little uncomfortable for some people. And when I watched the bump from Matt Sydal, I was kind of like, oh, that was not supposed to happen.
Botch.
But yeah, very, very, very badly. But at the same token, For me, it didn't really take away from the match because there were so many other things that happened in that battle royale.
Oh yeah.
There was definitely a story being told with the final combatants. I mean, Lance Archer ended up winning, who I predicted would win that match.
Same.
And there was definitely some good storytelling that went on. So, yes, we're going to remember that botch forever, but I feel like that the match itself was good. Now, me personally, when I watched the match with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, when I saw that fall onto the concrete, I almost kind of thought to myself, okay, that was kind of a huge fall there, but I almost wondered if maybe it was pre-recorded. I think some other fans questioned that. And then another thought to consider, and I've brought this up, and no one has seemed to really look at this in a retrospective sense. 20 years ago, The Undertaker throws Mick Foley off a cell.
Yes, King of the Ring 1998.
Yeah, and we see this happen. And granted, we don't want our performers getting hurt, but people ate that match up like it was the greatest thing they ever saw. But now we see someone who takes a high bump, and I think it's totally fine to be concerned for the health, but everyone just jumped on that match, and they were so quick to criticize. It's like, what's happened with the culture of wrestling, and what's happened with the mindset of the wrestling fans over the last 22 years.
When I think about what you just said there, you kind of like basically, I think, summed it up. It was that generation versus a new generation. When you consider this is 2020 and you consider what we've had before AEW, you don't see a lot of this in wrestling. And many people today probably have never seen a bump that scary, but they probably know somebody that's seen bumps like that nowadays think, okay, we need to be more cautious, we need to be more safe, we need concussions and mental health and all that type of stuff. So I do get what you're saying, but it's a different culture where those type of spots and bumps, they're more so looked down upon versus looked as, good God, this is the greatest moment ever, going to remember this forever as a positive thing in wrestling. Because at the end of the day, they're more concerned now, I think, about people's health than they were back then. So again, like you said, it's a different culture, but in my personal opinion, as a fan of wrestling since 1992, I did see the Undertaker Mankind bump, and that wasn't the only bump he took, because of course, Undertaker chokeslammed Mankind through the top of the cell. And I remember good old JR saying, good God, that's it, he's dead. You didn't see none of that or hear none of that here from good old JR. You just heard more of a sense of concern. And I think, again, commentary, who drives the story, they were driving that type of thought too. So I think it was just the overall feel and today's generation that really made that moment seem more like a dark spot versus a high spot.
Well, I think the other thing, too, that you have to also consider is that I use that match as an example because it's still talked about. It's still discussed.
Even Mick Foley talked about it, and he regrets it every day. You know that.
Yeah, because it was so over the top. But the other thing, too, is to flip the script, so to say. We many fans love what AEW is doing, but you look at the critics for WWE, you have a lot of wrestling fans that are like, we need more violence, we need more blood. But then you get
aggression.
You get something like that, and it's just like the total opposite. I just kind of go back to that mindset that you just can't win with wrestling fans sometimes.
Yeah, well, Daniel Bryan summed up in one word for us, okay? It's amazing how many promos Daniel Bryan has given us, especially during that time, that are so realistic, despite the fact that at least 80% of it was scripted. We are fickle, and we always will be. Whether you're WWE, AEW, a hybrid, both, new to one, hatred of the other, it doesn't matter. There's no satisfying everybody. And I feel that at the end of the day, that's always going to be the biggest flaw, because people are always going to have that dominant idealism of what they believe is best for them in wrestling versus just enjoying wrestling. And that's one of the biggest flaws and discussions that we could have all day. Speaking of which, why don't we get another voice in on here? Allow me to bring on board the analyst, Mr. Shane Wells. This is going to be a fun episode, I can already tell. It's been a while with this guy. As we're waiting for him to join us, All right. Give me a moment. There we go. Hey,
What's
Shane,
up,
how are you?
guys?
Welcome to the party.
Oh
It's been a while.
man,
You look great, brother.
man, it's been a super long time. Thanks, man. You look good too, man.
I'm
Just
probably
a
going to
couple
get
of
Shane a
handsome.
haircut later this week. Mom's like, no, you need to do something with the beard. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. You know what
Anyway,
you need to do with it? You need to keep it. You need to keep it. It's a
I
beautiful
like that.
beard,
I like
baby.
that thought. So first off, Shane, how are you? And I'll start with this opening question. When it comes to the fallout from All Out, AEW gave us a little bit of everything. The only thing they really did in epilogue was the tooth and nail match with Dr. Britt Baker, who apparently was not 100% going into that match, still gave a hell of a performance. And we don't know what's next for Big Swole. So with that being said, what was your biggest takeaway from last week's episode of AEW Dynamite regarding the fallout to All Out?
Man, so my biggest takeaway from last week's episode in regards to the fallout from All Out is All Out, in my opinion, All Out capped off a lot of storylines, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
didn't really continue any because it's a paper. WWE has falsely conditioned us as an audience to expect pay-per-views to like start new stuff, and
Exactly.
that's not necessarily the case, right? I think pay-per-views are supposed to cap stuff off. Now, to be fair, WWE has a shit ton of events, and some of their pay-per-views are not big ones that cap things off, right? They got
Killer.
little smaller pay-per-views, but AEW is not that way, right?
No, they have a quarterly pay-per-view model, which
finality.
I think works much better.
I love the quarterly model, and AEW has finality with their pay-per-views. So what that means is they got to cap them off. Now, the downside to that is, though, the downer is you're going to have to start new stuff after you cap off pay-per-views. And AEW does big comic book style story arcs. I've talked about this before, and the doc is really familiar with this. Big comic book style story arcs, when you do that, you're going to have what I call lulls, okay? And or level setting, not necessarily lulls, but level setting, right? Like let's start new storylines, and let's take it from there. And that's what we got last week, right? We got the starting of new stuff. I think we're gonna go straight into an Omega Hangman program. That's obvious. Hangman wants to be buddies, wants to tag up again. That ain't happening, man, because we're getting the cleaner. So we're having Hangman go heel. We're actually going to have Hangman go baby and Omega go heel. And that's even better, in my opinion. So, boom, that's what we're going to get. And I'm looking forward to it. And I thought last week was a fantastic show for what it was. And I got no complaints about last week's show. I mean, the biggest complaint I have is probably why did the Bucks just kick Marvez? Kind of silly, like what's the point in that, right? All he did was knock on the door for an interview because that's his job, and you kicked him in the face. And you guys got history with Marvez anyway, so why would you just kick him in the face randomly? And
like you keep saying, we keep thinking about what's next for all the elite. I think you hit the nail on the head. Omega's becoming the cleaner. We've seen a Sully tease on BTE. Heyman Page, so simplistic, wants to try him in Broken Bridges. Not going to happen, but he's going to probably become one of the biggest baby faces, true baby faces now in AEW. And as far as the Bucks, they're indifferent, but anybody who watches JPW knows that trio is tighter than family. So in my opinion, Bucks, they're going heel too, and this was their solid first step. We're not going to give you no words. You try and bother us, bam, super kick. Oh, $5,000, we'll pay that like nothing. I don't expect them to really pay it on the air, but I sense we got to get some sort of follow-up to the Bucks, if not tomorrow, next week. Now, with that being said, we talked about the elite. We talked about the women's division. Let's go ahead and briefly talk about a little more about the women's division, because I don't know about you, but Ty Conti, you could tell how emotional and happy she was for that moment. And I thought she had a really good match with Nyla Rose versus other matches with Nyla Rose that always have received criticism. What I found most interesting was not her performance, because I knew she was going to do well, all right, because you knew how much she wanted this. We know her background. I'm glad AEW gave her more than 3 minutes, too, which I want. More dedicated time to building this women's division. As I briefly said also before both of you gentlemen came on, according to reports, they have signed Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb is all elite, so she's going to be a major driving force going forward in the women's division. I could not be happier for her or this division. With Omega taking this turn now from his interview, as you discussed, as a singles star, possibly the cleaner, not right away, but again, I'm really looking forward to all these changes to come in AEW. But like you said, I felt that last week's show, it gave us a little bit of everything. Promo, match, promo, match, promo, match. Some people thought maybe it was a little too much, and they didn't even cover everything. So with that being said, Shane, I thought it was interesting how Tai Conchi was saved after the match by Hikaru Shida, and there was no sign of Anna Jay of the Dark Order until a social exclusive. Now, we've seen the Full Gear banner. You see how many stars they've built within the last year that are apparently going to be a big part of this show. I can already name probably 2 matches. But I don't know about you, but I honestly feel like they're building towards Hikaru Shida versus Anna Jay. But they're going to give us this false idea of Tai Conchi and Hikaru Shida working together, maybe even having a friendly match, but I think it'll be really good. Ooh. But give me your outlook as far as the women's division goes with this women's title picture. Do you see Big Swole come into play in this at all? She still is ranked number 2. Shane, I'll start with you on this. What's your thoughts on the direction of the women's division now? And who's next for Hikaru Shida's title reign?
Yeah. In terms of who's next for Shida's title reign, so Tai Conti, she needs built, and she needs built big time. They should put a rocket ship on her back. Legitimate shooter. I've been a fan of hers for years, and since I'm also a combat sports fan and a martial arts fan, I've been following her since she was just a judoka. So I've been following her for a very long time. I'm a big fan of Brazilian judo and jiu-jitsu. I love the tournament style stuff. It's like real life Karate Kid, and I absolutely love it. But Tai Conti, she's the real, and her psychology is light years ahead of her ability. Not ability, sorry, her tenure.
Her tenure. Because she's so young in her career. I mean, look at Anna Jay. She's literally just now celebrated 1 year of wrestling, and look at what AEW has done with her.
That's insane. Anna Jay is better at 1 year than I was at my 5-year anniversary when I was on the Indies, man. She's really good. She's really good, man. She's light years ahead of it. And her ring IQ and her facial expressions for gauging, especially with no crowd. She's making those facials with no crowd. What's she going to do when you got a packed house? She's going to drive it nuts. And she actually, Anna is so good that she made Cameron look good. If you can make Cameron look good, fuck, you can make a broom look good. You can make a bag of socks look good.
Ariane tried her best, but I get what you're saying.
but Anna Jay made Cameron look legitimate. So, she but Anna Jay's not gonna. I don't see Anna Jay getting a shot at Shida this soon. Also, don't see Tai Conti getting a shot at Shida this soon. You may have to do another Shida Nyla Rose program, maybe. I would like to think Big Swole would get a shot, but as you said, Big Swole may be hurt, and if she's hurt, then how's she gonna get a shot at Shida? Now, Britt Baker's on the mend from healing, right? So she's went through her physical therapy. She's 100%. I would think
possibly. They were saying that it wasn't 100% when they did the tooth and nail match. So
I think that Britt may be 100%, but it's so. I mean, here's what's great about the AEW women's division, and this is my theory. I think in the next 2 years, AEW will have a better women's division than WWE, because the great thing about AEW right now, they don't have big name women. They don't have Charlotte Flairs. They don't have Sasha Banks. They don't have Becky Lynch. They don't have any of those. So they roots build this shit, and they're gonna make draws. Like Anna Jay's gonna be a draw. There's no question. Tai Conti is gonna be a draw. There's no question. I think we're going to who Shida's gonna face aside, because I honestly have no idea who Shida's gonna face aside. I think we're gonna move towards an Anna Jay Tai Conti program, because I don't see Tai Conti signing with Dark Order. I don't see that at all.
Really?
I think we're gonna see. Oh yeah, I think we're gonna see Anna Jay and Tai Conti work a little program together to build them both up. It's perfect because neither have been in the business super long. Tai Conti's veteran enough to work Anna Jay through the match, and Anna Jay's skilled enough to take that direction. I mean, listen, Nyla Rose is no extremely vested vet either. Nyla Rose is still on the gills. I mean, she's only been around, 5-6 years?
5 years, I think.
Yeah, so even she's green around the gills. And Tai Conti, from watching match calls, and just from my experience in the business, and when I watch a match, I can see who's making the calls. Even though they're hiding them, I can see it.
Right.
And in that Nyla Rose match, Nyla's supposed to be making the calls. She's supposed to be the ring general because she's the heel, right? Traditionally, the heel makes the calls. But Ty Conti was calling her own shit. There was a segment for half the match where Ty Conti was calling her own shit, and they called the ring, which impressed me even more. And Ty Conti was the one calling it, not Nyla.
You can actually tell that Ty Conti. The funny thing is, lately we've seen on AEW, we saw this with MJF and Jon Moxley. You literally can hear them cueing kind of each other what to do to help each other push the match forward. Some might think that's a little bit of a defect to what you're actually seeing. But again, you got to make sure that you're safely working with those you're in the ring with. And again, the ones that are more experienced are trying to put the younger talent over. MJF versus Jon Moxley, that was a match that thoroughly impressed me. And we really saw what MJF can bring, not only as a professional wrestler, but also if he was on Moxley's game. So
that was 1970s style.
MJF. He's going to be a top tier star and champion AEW, no doubt.
I know it's a bit of a segue, but that MJF Jon Moxley match was a 1970s style storytelling fest. The way they even queued it up. So back in the 70s and in the early 80s, there was this trend of making moves illegal before the match. Heel makes a move illegal before the match, and then they work that shit the whole match. And then I loved how Moxley proved MJF's point. So MJF took the L, took the loss, but he ended up being right. MJF's argument was, Mox, you can't win without the paradigm. And guess what? Mox couldn't win without the paradigm shift. So he proved his damn point. So that's a really great way to lose and still look really good and tell a great story throughout the whole match. But back to your original point of who's Sheeta gonna face, I think they're gonna pull another rabbit out of the hat, because if Big Swole's hurt and Baker's hurt and Anna Jay's not built and Ty Conti's not built, you don't want to cycle another Nyla Rose program. I mean, Nyla Rose has had multiple title shots and the company's not a year old. That's too many. So they're gonna have to bring in somebody that's legitimate. Rosa, they're gonna have to bring in somebody that's legitimate to face Sheeta from outside of the roster. That's just what they're gonna have to do.
Well, I mean, they did that with the Thunder Rosa thing, and now I'm just looking more forward to NWA and AEW alliances. And Thunder Rosa, oh my gosh, that match!
I'm telling you,
that was my match of the night.
I have a question for the Doc. Doc, how old is Billy Corgan?
Billy Corgan was born in 1967, March 1767. He was born on St. Patrick's Day. I know that because I am a huge mark for Billy Corgan.
I know you. That's why I asked. That's why I asked, brother. I know you.
I just got an autographed edition of his last solo album, signed copy 896 out of 1,000. So yeah, Corgan, love the guy's music, but yeah, he's in his early 50s.
Yeah, he's like 53 under those scenarios.
So my question in regards to that is, look, Billy Corgan's been hemorrhaging personal money to finance the NWA. They're bankrupt, okay, which is not necessarily a bad thing in business. Bankrupt, you pay your bills, you need a break, okay? So that's what bankrupt means in a business. So the NWA is bankrupt, right? And the NWA is a passion project for Corgan. Corgan had the opportunity to bring the NWA to Warner, to, the same as AEW did, but he didn't take it because, in my opinion, Corgan just wants to do studio. That's all he wants to do. He wants to do the shit that he was raised on. But here's the deal. Does he want to retire off of it? Does he want to make money from it? The answer to both those questions is a resounding no. Otherwise, he would be making money from it. You could turn the NWA into a major global promotion with one of their legacy, right? They got the most prestigious titles in history in pro wrestling.
And of course, Nicholas will be defending his title literally tomorrow night on the specials on Fight TV through Primetime Wrestling, where he defends
and I'll be watching, man.
10 pounds of gold, me too, against Mike Bennett. And we also have other great matches to come, including Camille versus Heather Monroe. That's going to be freaking awesome. But just tell you about this week's Dynamite. Thunder Rosa is defending her NWA Women's title against Ivelisse.
So my whole point going on that tangent is I think Tony Khan's a businessman, and he kills you with kindness. I think Tony is buttering up Billy, and I think Tony is working with the NWA so he can buy the shit. one thing that AEW lacks is legacy. They utilize the whole lore and history of pro wrestling as a whole
Right.
to have legacy. But if they owned the NWA, like that's a legacy that you can't even really put a price tag on. So I don't see why. And plus, Tony Khan has said multiple times that he's a massive NWA mark. He's a pro wrestling historian. If you're a pro wrestling historian, there's nothing more important than the NWA. If there's no NWA, you have no pro wrestling. You just don't. That's how it is. Every territory, every promotion, everywhere, including the WWE, whether they like to try to make you forget or not, with a damn MIB, Men in Black stick, it's not real. The WWE spent most of its existence as an NWA territory. They didn't leave the NWA until the 80s. They tried to leave in the 70s, and then Vince Sr. pulled it back in because they were failing because you can't be financially successful off just selling out Madison Square Garden with your regional champion that you're masking as a world champion.
And we see Madison Square Garden have fallouts too. So we just went on a whole nother tangent about business strategies, buyouts, and locations. But I get
my whole point in saying that is, like, I really feel that within the next 2 years, AEW will make a play to buy the NWA from Corgan, and they might even make Corgan an EVP. You know, it's like, hey, buddy, we'll buy it. We can be partners. You could be an EVP, you can stay on, and this can still be your baby, but it's owned by AEW. How badass would that be?
They're also talking about a second show that it sounds like could be an hour long. If it's dedicated just to that NWA division, that's a whole nother type of roster and wrestling that you would definitely get. And I like that idea a lot. You threw out a lot of names for the women's division, though. Like you said, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, don't know if she's fully 100%. I still think that has to be her next title match for Hikaru Shida. But then again, her and Hikaru Shida have never faced each other for the title in any sort of capacity. So I wonder how you present Britt Baker if that's the case.
Here's something interesting, and I mentioned that maybe you could bring in somebody, right?
Oh yeah,
Tessa Blanchard just dropped the Warrior Women's Championship at Warrior Wrestling. That
Kylie Ray,
promotion.
Congrats to Kylie Ray.
To Kylie Ray. So she's dropping titles in promotions where she didn't make anybody mad. If she's dropping titles in promotions where she didn't make anybody mad, why is that? That would tell me she's going somewhere. Where's she going? I mean, she could easily become an AEW, but I think that'd be a bit of a stretch because Tony is very socially conscious, right? Will he hire Tessa? But remember, Tully works for Tony, so right. I'm sure Tully could sway Tony. And none of Tessa's allegations are on or actually documented, right? Who's to say people aren't?
Right, and Big Swole said it'd be a good idea for her to come to AEW. So let's go ahead and dissect the doctor's brain. We talked about Britt Baker. We talked about Big Swole. We talked about Tessa. Do you see any of those three facing Hikaru Shida at Full Gear for her AEW Women's Championship? And if not any of those three, who?
I would say if Britt Baker was fully healed, and she's off the shelf, ready to go, I'd say she'd be the obvious choice. I think that the fans, and myself included, have all wanted to see Britt Baker go after the women's title. But you've also got to consider, like we discussed earlier, Big Swole is still number 2. And if Britt Baker is ready to go, are you going to still progress that feud and cap it off to have one of those individuals go and be the challenger for Hikaru Shida?
Number 1 contenders match.
So it's, there's a lot of variables, and the beauty about AEW capping off their pay-per-views and starting new is we are once again in these deep waters of unknown territory, and where we don't know what's going to happen. That's what makes wrestling great, right? When we can this down. Yeah, it was like, well, what's going to happen next week on Dynamite? Are we going to, do something really crazy. The Young Bucks going to go and super kick Tony Khan just because. You know, I mean, I'm just
awesome.
saying. You know, we never know. But in the meantime, see, I think that you could see one of those two people going for the match at Full Gear against Hikaru Shida. But in the meantime, who do you pick in the interim? Nyla Rose is possible. She's not gotten her rematch. You know, we've got Vicky Guerrero trying to build her up. I know that she's got a match coming up with Thunder Rosa, but I'm going to go ahead and throw a wild card out here. If Ivelisse has a great performance with Thunder Rosa, I think we're going to see a match between her and Shida prior to Full Gear.
I like that a lot, considering Ivelisse is a 20-year. I think she's a 20-year veteran, I believe.
Yeah,
she definitely put her time in on the scene, and she definitely could put a great match. But thinking about the progress we were talking about with Anna Jay and Tai Conti, you literally might be building a secondary storyline within the women's division. It's been a strength lately, as we not only had this women's title match out of nowhere that truly tested Shida and really showed what Thunder Rosa is all about, but we had, of course, that match with Britt Baker and Big Swole. It's like they're trying to do more with the women's division finally.
They are. No, it's a slow build. The thing is, it's a slow build. It's a slow build, you know?
Yeah, so I agree. I think we'll see Anna Jay versus Tai Conti at Full Gear. Now, it would not surprise me, though, based on their young tenure and stuff, it might be a buy-in match. Because it's not the first time we've had a buy-in women's match off a feud on a buy-in show. Remember, we had Bea Priestley versus Britt Baker on the buy-in, and Britt Baker won. So I could, but again, it builds women's division, it exposes them, and these two so young in their careers, I feel that would be a great moment for them, especially Anna Jay. First ever match on pay-per-view, free pay-per-view, still being a part of that card has to matter. So I could definitely see that. But I also think about other names I see on Dark, because Dark, you know they're constantly watching the talent and how they perform on Dark. Kylan King had a hell of a match with Ivelisse. Will Hobbs demonstrating willpower. He's finally getting wins. They're clearly trying to find more big-time players to add to their AEW roster. Both men and women rise. I still keep saying Kylan King, Danny Jordan, you got a tag team right there waiting to happen. And, of course, both of those ladies have been constantly competing on Dark, and Danny Jordan will be competing on Dark soon. Allie's finally making waves. I'm happy for that. As a single star. And, again, she was, like, my favorite signing to AEW when I found out, because I love her personality, I love her wrestling, love her potential. Been following her since Smash Wrestling, when she was the cocky, arrogant, popular, so-called, has to have everything girl cherry bomb in an alternate multiverse, but I digress. So, yeah, but the bottom line is this. The women's division, they're finally trying to do things differently as we approach the one-year anniversary of Dynamite, and I'm very happy for it. And Serena Deeb, big-time pickup. Now you have someone to really drive that women's division going forward, because Kenny Omega, Dustin, QT, and Brandy can only do so much. Serena Deeb, she has that experience. She's had that coaching capability, and she definitely can help shape and guide these young women for the future, as Big Ray, I'm sure, is trying to do with Nyla Rose. It's amazing how much the manager and talent dynamic in AEW is working on so many levels. So let's go ahead now and think about this as we talk about the fallout from All Out. MJF tirading Nina. At least you don't have to smile anymore. It looks like that campaign is over. And it looks like right now the only person literally MJF's corner at his will is Wardlow. He really brought out the friend card bomb here. Like, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here. Your family wouldn't be fed. You are under my learning, and you are guarding my experience. I helped guide you. I helped grow you. Blah, blah, blah. Look, we've been talking about it for a while. We've had miscommunications. We've had subtle teases. I don't know about you all, but I'm just looking forward. I could see a Wardlow vs. MJF program at AEW Full Gear. Now, whether or not that means MJF finds another big, heavy bodyguard for him, or ring bearer, basically, because that's all Wardlow is ever demonstrated as, like Tony Schiavone, or whether or not Tony Schiavone gets his wish and Wardlow beats the holy hell out of MJF, which I'm sure he's been asking for months. But, out of Bradley, what do you see next? Because he said now it's time to plan. What do you see next for MJF and Wardlow at this point?
Well, I think that the seeds have been planted for a potential feud. It's just a matter of when that match happens. So, you know, the camaraderie has been somewhat reinstated, so to say. But you got to remember, MJF just looks Wardlow right in the eyes and goes, "Do we have a problem?" In almost a Paul Heyman kind of fashion. which I thought was great. I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see some more singles action between the two. They'll be in each other's corner. We'll get some tag matches.
MJF's going to be in action this week. Just saying.
Yeah. How soon it's going to happen, it's hard to say. Time will tell as stories progress in the coming weeks of Dynamite, but I do think that we're going to get another screw up on the part of Wardlow that's going to lead to the two feuding. Talking about Tony Khan being a pro wrestling historian, and with wrestling, we sometimes retell stories and we like to throw things in a different way. But when you think about, greatness of these athletes and wrestlers, and you compare them to other greats, you've got a guy like MJF who's a smaller guy, but he's physically built, very talented in the ring. He's got a guy like Wardlow who's a big guy by his side. It almost kind of reminds me of Shawn Michaels and his insurance policy.
Diesel.
Diesel and Psycho Sid. So are we going to see a slew of ring bearers, so to say? Is Wardlow is Wardlow the first ring bearer, and then, is he going to get thrown out and someone else come in? But you do that, you allow a push for Wardlow to be on his own and succeed on his own. And maybe he's a future TNT champion. Maybe he's the guy that takes down Brody Lee.
I like that, because now I'm going to segue to this. I don't know about y'all, but again, I'm an old school wrestling fan, but I do love strong style. That's why I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. But that match with Dustin and Mr. Brody Lee, Dustin is a natural and is timeless. That match was amazing. And apparently, it was the most watched match this week on AEW Dynamite. Rightfully so. That was one of Mr. Brody Lee's best showings in a long damn time. What is it when it comes to a singles match with Dustin? He not only looks incredible himself, but makes his opponent look amazing too. That match truly could have gone either way. I love the story. I love the fact that just Silver was out there and got knocked out by Dustin. That was funny. But again, you still had that subtle angle where Mr. Brody Lee looked strong in the end. He did pull out the win, and then, of course, he proved his dominance with, of course, the Dark Order taking out the Natural Nightmares. But with that being said, Shane, Dark Order, they right now seem to be on top, but Dustin, he made Mr. Brody look like $1 million. I don't think that Dustin and Mr. Brody are done with each other by any means, and I would love to see Dustin as a future TNT champion. But give me your thoughts on the direction of the TNT champion now that Mr. Brody Lee's basically taken out both parts of the Nightmare Family's brotherhood. Who steps up to Mr. Brody Lee next for the title?
Well, we know Cody's going to be gone for a long time because he's filming that show. He's doing that show. So I would assume that we're not going to see a lot of Cody. Now,
I'm sure it's going to make some people happy because there's those people that are judgmental about Cody and his wrestling and the way the company, blah, blah, blah. But anyway.
I think Cody, honestly, I'll take Cody pound for pound against any worker in the world. The guy's psychology is underrated. He's made more stars than you can think of in the past year.
And clearly he learned a lot from Dustin about that too, because again, to this day, Dustin versus Cody is still my favorite match in AEW history.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a segue, but Cody's the kind of guy that you can give him, hey man, here's random guy you're wrestling tonight, make a story out of it. And it'll feel like it'll have the same anticipation as something with a 2-month build, because he can do that. Which is something that's pro wrestling. That's called getting over. Cody's a master at getting over. If this were the 70s, Cody would be hailed as the best babyface in the world, best worker in the world right now. But because people have different, a lot of people want a lot of gymnastics and acrobatics and a level of athleticism in the ring that Cody's not going to give you because he's grounded in realism. But I will say, you asked about Brody Lee. I think Brody also knows how to get over because Brody has taken this Exalted One character and he's taken it to whole new levels. You're going to see Brody keep going up and up. There's a reason why that match was the most watched match, according to Nielsen ratings, and people stayed on it. Number one, Dustin Rhodes in there, who's a big name, legend, first ballot Hall of Famer in any Hall of Fame in the world. But number two, you get this guy, Brody Lee, who's racking up millions of YouTube views a month. people are interested. They want to see him wrestle. There's probably some people that just mainly watch BTE, don't necessarily always tune into Dynamite, and they want to see Brody Lee work. He's an interesting looking dude. He's got an interesting character now. He can talk.
Now they can actually express his character. He's defined himself to remind you who he actually is. Not only a big dude that just stares out wide, that's a great wrestler in the ring, but again, the BTE segments for Dark Order and WrestleJoy comparing it to The Office, still freaking hilarious. I love it.
They're gonna have to stop calling it BTE and start calling being Dark Order BDO, because the Dark Order is the best part of BTE.
The Inner Circle took over one episode. Mr. Brody Lee could buy out BTE one time in a skit, and we could probably get that, and I would not mind seeing that.
That would be hilarious. But I think eventually, probably within 6 months, maybe 7 or less, you're going to see Brody drop that TNT title because he's going to start getting to play in the world title picture again, because now he's proven to be a draw. And Tony Khan comes off as a bit of an old school. I'm telling you, man, like people call Tony Khan a money mark. I disagree. I think Tony Khan is an old school sports promoter. Let me give you a little history. Team All Elite's analyst. There's a guy by the name of Jess McMahon, and Jess McMahon is Vince McMahon's grandfather. Okay, he started what would later become the Capital Wrestling Organization, Capital Wrestling Corporation, which would become the WWE one day. And Jess McMahon, he originally promoted baseball, basketball, and boxing. Eventually, he evolved into pro wrestling. So even Jess McMahon started as a money mark. If that makes even he started as a money mark. Okay?
I just think all billionaires are the same. When it comes to a wrestling mentality, Tony Khan definitely knows what he's talking about when it comes to wrestling.
And now the reason why I'm comparing Tony Khan to Jess McMahon is Tony Khan started out NFL, team sports. He started out in traditional team sports. And then he decided, You know what? I'm a wrestling fan. Let's do a wrestling promotion. Same with Jess McMahon, right? He started out with team sports and then decided, You know what? Let's do a wrestling promotion. So a money mark is, Dixie Carter. Dixie Carter didn't know shit about wrestling. Maybe she's a bit of a fan, got a lot of money. Let's start a promotion. I'd be if I had the money to start a promotion, I'd be a money mark.
People wonder why I'm not into broadcasting. I'm just a guy that's a fan. I don't know the first thing about journalism.
Right. Same here, man. But Tony Khan knows how to promote sports. He knows what sports fans want. And all a sports fan is a live entertainment fan. So you could just drop the sports out of there and say he knows what live entertainment fans want. So he's promoting AEW in a very, very old school way. Now, my whole point in saying that is he's slow burning future main eventers, man. He's slow burning Brody Lee. Brody is going to eventually drop that TNT title to someone, and it's going to make that guy, whoever that guy is. And then he's going to throw him into the main event division. Tony Khan doesn't throw people into the main event unless they prove they're a draw. People always go, oh, how come everyone that's in the main event scene is a former WWE guy? Well, that's because those former WWE guys are proven draws.
Gotta get that initial investment.
What if you know what a true money mark would do? Just throw anyone in the main event because they like them. Like he's throwing people in the main event that are proven to be draws, and while he's doing it, he's building original talent, like Orange Cassidy, for example. Orange Cassidy is now a main event star. I bet
freaking believable.
He's a main event star. He is a main event special attraction, just like Brock Lesnar. That's no joke. He's a main event special attraction. He doesn't have the notoriety of Brock Lesnar, but he is a main event special attraction. He beat Chris Jericho two times. And Chris Jericho is a first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the biggest draws in wrestling history. And he's an outside of wrestling draw. If you are not a wrestling fan, you probably know who Chris Jericho is because you've seen him on VH1. Maybe you listen. I know people that listen to Fozzy that have never watched a wrestling match in their life. They don't even realize Chris Jericho is a wrestler. Seriously, there's one at my office. He's a big heavy metal guy. He told me one. He told me one day, hey, have you heard of this metal band? They're kind of like European metal. They're called Fozzy. And I said, yeah, the lead singer's Chris Jericho. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's a wrestler? Yeah, he's a wrestler. Oh, wow, I didn't know. Like,
come check out AEW time. I see what Chris Jericho's about and listen to the audience sing one of his top 10 songs of all time.
Dude, the dude charts. You know how hard it is for rock music to chart? Jericho, Fozzy charts. So, Orange Cassidy's now first ballot Hall of Famer. So my whole point in this tangent is Tony Khan's an old school promoter. He knows what to do. He knows how to build talent. I'm probably giving him more credit than what he's proven. I mean, God, he's a sports promoter. He knows what he's doing.
And he's behind the scenes now. He's not an on-screen character. He's not involved in none of it.
No.
Directly.
And he doesn't want to be. He's an introverted goof. He doesn't want to be out there, right?
I respect that. I'm an introvert. I live most of my life out of my room, so there you go.
I totally respect and love him. My wife is a huge introvert. So it's like, I get it. Like, so just, I think he knows what he's doing. He's pushing Brody in the main event, and I think he's laying the groundwork for a hell of a women's division. And you know what? I'm telling you, man, kind of one thing we kind of forgot about, just because I think the woman in AEW is Abaddon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have Sheeta drop the title to Abaddon at Full Gear? Just have her put Abaddon on a tear.
Put a different face, and I do love the idea of Abaddon versus Chris Statler. I don't know if that's one of the first matches that happened with Chris Statler returns. I seriously missed that alien.
I missed that alien, right? And you have Abaddon go on a tear. Just have her just go on a total tear. Have everyone take an L to Abaddon to pop her up to rank number 1, and then just have Sheeta drop title to Abaddon. That'll freshen it up because you can't have Sheeta hold the title forever. I love Sheeta.
Abaddon is actually number 4, if I remember correctly, because she's currently undefeated.
She's number 4, man. She's under our nose, man. I see what Tony's doing there, right? He's slowly building Abaddon, right? He's sneaking her in on you.
Now, let's get kind of key on that, though, because she's a big-time power player. That was a ridiculous choke slam she did to Evil Leaf. I love Kylan King, man.
She's a great – dude, Abaddon's a great worker, and people say, she's got a limited skill set. No, she doesn't. You can watch her matches from before she discovered the Abaddon gimmick. That's her gimmick. You'll see she can do a lot of shit, and she's not a small woman either.
Right.
She's shorter, but she's not small.
She's a little powerhouse, and we went off in the weeds. But I like the way you said, bringing it back, the slow burn to Mr. League, who might I add is also one of the featured people on that Full Gear banner. I just figured about that Full Gear banner and how many people, non-elite, are on there that really are going to be, I feel, in big-time storylines. Now, clearly we saw Ricky Starks. We all know what's coming for Ricky Starks. It's going to be him versus Darby Allin, period.
Oh, my God.
And how the hell did Darby Allin survive that tack-filled body bag throw spot from the Casino Battle Royale? What the hell? I'm like,
I guess when you get on skateboards and constantly fall and you're doing a Tony Hawk, you can just do anything.
Darby Allin's crazy, okay, period. He's crazy.
So, I will tell you guys this to put you a little bit at ease. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara's bumps look like train wrecks, but their bumps don't hurt. So I'll tell you why they don't hurt. So they hurt, but they don't hurt more than the average bump. So the higher you get your legs up when you bump on your shoulders, the less it hurts, and the more you can distribute the impact. That's why you actually see, if you look closely at Sammy's bumps, he's doing a lot of handstand bumps or headstand bumps. Meaning, like, he's not actually getting bumped on top of his head.
He's got his hands there that makes him look like he's vertical.
That's right.
That's the figure that he's been doing, because I can imagine somebody taking that directly on the head.
Or you're doing what's called the accordion bump, which is where you take it right on the top of the shoulders and you slap out. That's the accordion bump. And it looks brutal as fuck, but you're actually good. You're fine. Now, the less you get your legs up, the more your bump hurts. So this goes to my next point. Darby took that power bomb with the tacks over the rope onto the ramp. That was a flat back. That was a flat back, like no legs up. Bounce. That hurt like shit. Now, Darby, I'll tell you, Darby, I think he just legitimately, there's some guys that get in the business that just like to bump. They like that feeling. They like that pain. They like being sore the next day. Plenty of guys like that, man. Plenty of them. Mick was one of those guys. You know, he liked to be able to feel his match the next day.
Well, I mean,
Darby,
Ricky Starks has said on a AEW Restricted, he's one of those people that's like, you know, it's a tax on the ring. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm one of those that likes pain or looks forward to it. It's like one of those driving things I feel for a wrestler that wrestler looks forward to, John Moxley. And of course, you could validate that because, again, for those that don't know, folks, Shane Wells is a former independent wrestler, all right? He knows his way in and out of the ring.
I definitely knew my way out. But
well, clearly, because you're no longer wrestling.
but the whole thing is, here's my concern though, just as a human being to another human being. When I was coming up in the business, things were a little different, and you used to try to weigh more so you could have padding. Darby and Ricky and Sammy, those guys, they need back on some weight.
They need more
for
the
longevity of their career. Because when those guys all hit 30, they're gonna feel it, and then when they hit 35, they're gonna feel it even more.
Maybe wonder if Finn Balor feels like that right now. I think he's actually in his 30s, and Finn Balor's kind of like a similar body build.
But Finn has a lot of muscle mass. If you look at him, and he's taller. He's actually taller than Ricky Starks. He's taller than most of those guys. You can't tell because of how WWE produces their TV, but he's not on the. I think he's like 5'10" or 5'11".
5'11",
close to 6 feet. Yeah, he's close to 6 feet. So he's thick. Right? He's got a lot of muscle on him. Darby is missing some weight, man. Boy needs a sandwich. Like
that helps with his speed clearly because he is extremely versatile in the ring. The way he pulls out that stun dog millionaire out of nowhere, and again, he and John Moxley, major respect, mutual respect to both. Great match for the AEW World Championship. I honestly can see Darby Allin maybe one day challenging Mr. Brody Lee, but you did bring up a lot of interesting names. I mean, again, I thought at first, based on my prediction for All Out for that match, which I did call them winning, I thought they were setting up Scorpio Sky for Mr. Brody Lee. And maybe that's still the idea ahead because we haven't heard anything from Macadona or Scorpio Sky. They weren't even involved in the post-angle beatdown by the Dark Order on the Natural Nightmares. Just saying.
I think Sky will eventually take the TNT title off of Brody Lee. He's perfect guy for it. Perfect.
I think everyone's just waiting for the day Darby Allin is a champion in AEW. Period. With that being said, Bradley, do you believe Darby Allin's our next TNT champion waiting to happen, or who do you see next to challenge Mr. Brody Lee?
Again, these cap offs just leave us in this uncharted territory. So I guess it makes the discussion that much more fun.
And that's why we're here. And again, folks, stay tuned because we will be doing a one-year retrospective on AEW Dynamite. Because as you know, gentlemen, we're approaching the one-year anniversary, and holy hell, what have they given us within 1 year and what's to come?
Exciting.
That's going to be a hell of a discussion. I can't wait to do that with you, too. Because, my gosh, there have been so many incredible moments. Some moments I'm like, why'd you did this? And then I think about, since they did those moments, what they did to correct them. Top example, Dark Order. It's amazing what they've done within 1 year.
Oh yeah, man. They Tony Khan and team over there has learned how to get anything over. I mean, they've just learned how to do it.
Because it's a wrestling company ran by wrestlers, only built by a wrestling fan at heart. Who doesn't put himself at the front of it at all?
It's beautiful.
Anyway, sorry, Dr. Bradley, for interrupting you. That was a segue. Okay. Your thoughts on the TNT title.
Well, you have this rivalry with the Natural Nightmares and the Dark Order. So if Dustin got his chance, I know we mentioned Scorpio Sky. I think he's very, very probable, but I'm gonna go a little bit with a wild card and just going with the recent history. What about QT Marshall? What about giving him an opportunity?
Well, QT Marshall is facing on AEW Dark Colt Cabana, who we know is probably on some thin ice. So I could see that maybe come into play because that does continue the idea of the Dark Order taking on the Nightmare family. So that is a name that I didn't really think about. Honestly, I never think of QT Marshall as a singles champion. I've always thought him as the tag team guy because honestly, he's been there just to help the town. He's a trainer in the Nightmare Factory.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll win the title, but I think he's going to be one of the next couple of contenders that we'll see going up against Brody Lee.
Oh yeah.
As far as a person to take that title off of him, you put Darby Allin up against guys like Brian Cage. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to put him in a match with Brody Lee, a smaller guy of his stature against a guy like Brody Lee. I think those two could work really, really well.
Oh god, they make a hell of a good match.
I mean, we still have yet to see Darby Allin versus Brian Cage, and that is a match just waiting to happen, especially after that Casino Darby Allin spot. It honestly feels like Darby Allin's just ready to handicap take on Team Taz, because that's how crazy he is. Remember, this guy once tagged himself in a handicap match against the Inner Circle.
Which, by the way, that was one of the coolest moments I've seen in wrestling since like 1998. Like that was fucking crazy.
I can't recall if I've ever seen that before. I'm like, are you freaking insane? He paid for it, but damn, what heart. And he was known as Wrestler of the Week from that. But I like the cutesy Marshall idea. All right, let's switch gears since we're talking about tag team wrestling. Let's look at the tag team division. Let's start with a few that I think is finally coming to an end. And I'm just waiting for his mom to come out and slap Santana Ortiz. We got a street fight this week as the Best Friends take on Proud and Powerful. This has to be the end card, okay? Best Friends have fallen from grace. It's literally challenging for the AEW Tag Team titles in this feud, all right? And now we have Proud and Powerful, who's made it personal, destroying Trent's mom's minivan and literally calling her out in a negative way. Both of these teams, they'll be in National AEW Dark. They're clearly going to build momentum in their matches for this street fight. So how's this thing going to end? Are we going to get a replacement minivan? Are we going to get an apology? Is Proud and Powerful finally going to get the win at the end of a feud? Because Proud and Powerful, you would think, would have a better record, but they don't. So, Dr. Bradley, give me your thoughts on this feud. How's it all coming to an end? Who's getting the win? Especially after they attacked Orange Cassidy after he faced Angelico. So I'm pretty sure your boy Orange Cassidy is going to be involved.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're talking about this feud, and you look at what's happened recently with Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. But let's also think about the two factions as a whole. You got Orange Cassidy with the Best Friends. They're kind of like their own little trio, their own little gang, so to say. Yep. But look at the inner circle. Several months ago, the Inner Circle was kind of the big thing on AEW, on Dynamite, week to week. They were one of the big things that we tune in for. So go back to last week, you see Jericho and you see Jake Hager together, and Jericho's announcing we're coming to take the tag team division on. I have a feling that we could be approaching the last days of the Inner Circle, that whole faction could be coming apart. And I think that we're going to see a victory on the part of the Best Friends. That's going to lead to an implosion of the Inner Circle.
That's a fair point, because I was also going to wonder, because this was going to segue to Shane, because Shane, we've already known the Sex Gods, they had the ambitions of going after the tag titles. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, they were the meme kings. They were the meme or the gift or the pose of the night. And now we have heard nothing from Sammy, and Jericho has now gone in a new direction to go after tag gold with Jake Hager. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think the Jericho-Hager tag team pursuit is going to work out. So, with that being said, and we're approaching 1 year, is this the first line knowing that Inner Circle is about to fall apart? Do you see Proud pulling it out here, or is this going to be like their death note?
So I think Proud and Powerful are going to definitely pull it out against the Best Friends, but I don't know if this is going to be the end of their beef with the Best Friends, right? I don't know that, but I do know that they're going to pull out the win, because you can't just have the Best Friends destroy the Inner Circle. It doesn't make sense, because Orange Cassidy is part of the Best Friends, and he just beat Jericho twice. Proud and Powerful have lost way too much, in my opinion. I think they should probably be winning now. They're an amazing tag team. They should probably start winning at some point, aside from squash matches. They've won a ton of those. But, I see Proud and Powerful beating the Best Friends, and then I see Jericho and Hager losing. And then I see Proud and Powerful beefing with Jericho and Hager, because and that causing the breakup of the Inner Circle. Because Proud and Powerful would have a legitimate if Jericho went after the tag titles with Guevara, it didn't work. Jericho goes after the tag titles with Hager, it ain't gonna work. And Proud and Powerful, meanwhile, are one of the 10 best tag teams in the world, and they haven't had any shots at the AEW World Tag Titles. Nope. So that would right there cause a rift, and they'll break up. And then, of course, Proud and Powerful would come out on top of Jericho and Hager, and then Jericho and Hager would go singles directions. Jericho probably leaning more into a commentary role with special one-offs, and then Hager leaning into a more aggressive singles run. But,
well, let's hope Hager's got a better attitude. Otherwise, he'll be suspended again. Remember, the last time he had a singles bout for gold, he lost his temper and got suspended as he took Cody on for the TV title and lost. Really good match. Again, bringing that amateur background and the pro fighting background because he is an MMA fighter. But he needs to find a way to balance that and get some big wins. He had some momentum initially from his in-ring debut with Dustin back in February. But again, like Bradley says, since pretty much that Stadium Stampede, that's one of my top moments, definitely in AEW history.
Love the Stadium Stampede.
Yeah, the Inner Circle is kind of falling apart when it comes to momentum. Yeah. So, yeah, I see your point with Proud and Powerful here. They're the best friends. They're already over. I feel like until the mom gets involved, the best friend Proud and Powerful beef is not going to end. So I do totally agree.
Look, I do love the Best Friends as a tag team, just as a side note. But Trent's a fucking beast.
Damn right.
I mean, his match with Pac. No, his match with Pac, and then it's not just his match with Pac that I love, but it's the little things he does in the ring. It's his physical gestures, the way he chews that gum, and when he gets mad, you see it. You see his fight back. He lays his shit in. He doesn't ghost anybody.
Trent is a top-tier single-star waiting to happen. He's had matches with John Moxley and Kenny Omega that are top-tier ballot matches for the year.
And when you go back and you watch his NJPW work and then you compare it to his current AEW work, it's still just as good, if not better right now, because he's mastered the little things.
Right, because he's got that experience in time.
God, man, I really, he could go on a great singles tear, but it would break my heart to see him and Chucky T break up. Actually, I would love to see the Best Friends have a tag title run at some point, but we all know that FTR is holding those belts for a long, good while, and whoever they drop to, they're going to make into a tag god, because I don't see FTR. FTR is going to face the Young Bucks probably. I'm thinking at the next pay-per-view, maybe the one after that. But you got to build there, and if the Bucks go heel, FTR ain't facing them for a long time.
Correct, because AEW doesn't do the whole heel versus heel thing, which is a great segue. Because you talk about tag team wrestling, where AEW, of course, has tag team wrestling as its top tier ballot driving force, main event focus, and honestly, the best tag team division I've seen in a long time professional wrestling under one company.
I'll tell you this flat out: it's the best tag team division that's ever been in pro wrestling. Period. Because even the greatest, so prior to that, the best tag team division in pro wrestling history was either JCP in the late 80s or WCW in the early 90s. One of the two. Maybe you could even throw an argument in there for WWF's tag division in the late 90s.
Yeah, they had a lot of tag teams back then.
But my argument to against WWF's tag team division in the late 90s is WWF's tag team division in the late 90s was just an answer to WCW's cruiserweight division. It was a car crash. Every tag match was a car crash. It wasn't really a tag division.
Let's be honest. WWF in the 90s was about one thing: single stars. Okay?
Yes.
And when the Attitude rolled around, it was about 5 single stars at the very top. And one of them became the very boss of the company.
And that's if you don't count the massive whale draws that were in WCW too. You know, you probably had 10 whales of draws that you'll never see again. Like, you'll never see numbers like that again ever. It's simultaneously existing, and that's, you know, like that's insane. But my whole point is AEW's tag division right now, it's the best tag division in the history of pro wrestling. I'll take anybody to task who says anything different. I know that AEW's tag rules are unique, but in reality they're not unique. If anyone's ever watched Lucha Libre, you'll know that in Lucha, there's usually no tag rope.
Yep.
Guys come out and in. You know, if you hit the floor with your feet, you're out. Your partner's in. That's how tag team wrestling works in Lucha Libre.
And you see that sometimes with literally those Lucha Libre type teams in TH2 and Lucha Bros. Like you said, this tag division, it's got everything: old school, high risk, powerhouses, new school, aerodynamics, and now you have this old school mentality in tag team champions led by Tully. And again,
FTR,
I'm
man.
on that. Yeah, so as you talk about FTR, let's talk about this, Dr. Bradley. We saw the championship celebration. Might I add one more unique thing? So damn glad a cake on a table was not blasted in somebody's face or put through somebody's back. Cake actually
awesome.
eaten for a purpose.
They
It's
ate
these
it.
tiny little things that I see in pro wrestling that make me believe this is something different. I digress. Anyway, FTR, they basically berated the tag team division in their own way, all right? They respect them, but it's like, SCU, you were the top guys. It was an honor to face you, but look at how far you've fallen. Jurassic Express, you have great momentum. You have great fan support. But if you think a dinosaur can lead this tag team division, you're certainly mistaken. Then they blasted Private Party, and then there was another team out there. They blasted the Gun Club. Then they got into Luchasaurus' skin, subtly making their way out. But they leave saying this. If you guys, because again, Jurassic Express, they're facing FTR this week. If you can beat us, then maybe, just maybe, you can get a title shot, maybe, at our time. Because again, these guys, they're going to lead this division the way they want to. And that includes tag ropes, 10 counts, because again, they're old school tag wrestlers, as we talked about.
That's right.
I loved everything about this. It basically literally was, for me, a reset to the outlook of the tag team division, where you have these champs that took on anybody in a hybrid of two great single stars who have those titles for over 200 days. They basically went through almost the whole tag team division when you think about it.
Yeah.
And now we got FTR and Jurassic Express to start us off. Now, I don't know about y'all, but it's surprising me, Jurassic Express, they really have garnered some momentum. They had that incredible match at All Out, lost. Many people call it an upset that they beat the Lucha Brothers this past week on Dynamite, and now they have a chance to take on the champions after embarrassing them, dropping an ice bucket on them. Yeah. I thought the ice bucket challenge was back. With that being said, Dr. Bradley, give me your thoughts on what you expect to see now from AEW Tag Team Wrestling led by FTR. And what do you see coming out of this match coming up between FTR and Jurassic Express?
Well, FTR is when I think FTR, I think of good old-fashioned, old-school wrestling at its finest. And I think that we're going from a tag team that had champions that were two really strong singles guys that just happened to come together and had great chemistry together. But now we got a legit tag team. Like these two guys, Dax and Cash, they're tight. They're thick as thieves. And you can see it in their ring work and their ability and how they work together. I mean, their psychology is just unparalleled. Just the attention to detail they have, the little things they do in the ring. I just cannot tell you how much more excited I am for the tag team division AEW. I loved it beforehand, but I think FTR is going to help catapult that to a new level.
Yeah. And take it a whole different direction. No flips, just this. Though it did surprise me to see Dax and Cash both respectively fly off the top rope during their match at All Out. Willing to show how far they're willing to go to win the titles. Now let's see how far they're willing to go to hold them.
And not only are they good old-fashioned, old-school wrestlers, those guys are good old-fashioned heels. What they do, just the things they say. They've got that classic, old school, almost Ric Flairish in a way, but you also see a little bit of shades of, Bret Hart when he was a heel, Razor Ramon, those guys, just the way that they talk to people, just the language they use.
So they're not putting over their own country.
Yeah, I think to take a team of their caliber, but to put them against a team like Jurassic Express to start off with, is really good for business for a lot of reasons. Number one, Jurassic Express has been an underdog tag team. We've seen them used, even in the matches that they don't win. They look like $1 million coming out because Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, those two have such great chemistry. And it's you got two guys that are almost polar opposites in work and how they work, but they blend so well. The other thing is Jurassic Express is good old-fashioned entertainment value, especially when you throw Marco Stunt in there. You're going to get the good segments and some good promos. I mean, look, even BTE's got some good stuff at Jurassic Express.
Hilarious.
Marco being immature and silly, you're going to get some good chuckles, laughs. They're going to get back at the old dastardly things that FTR does, and it's going to put butts in the seats, and we're going to keep coming back for it.
So far, that 10%. We'll see how much more they bring.
But to backtrack a little bit, that's kind of why I think that the best friends may go over, because I think about Jurassic Express and how they are like, the front runners to challenge FTR, so to say. You look at some of the recent tag team matches that led up to the championship match at All Out. Who are two teams that you saw a lot in the running besides the Young Bucks? You saw Jurassic Express in a lot of those matches. You also saw Best Friends in a lot of those matches. So I really think that Best Friends will, not right away, but you're going to see them face FTR eventually. And I'm sure Lucha Bros will too, because Shane, you had your story, your idea for a story. It makes sense. I could go with it. I like it. But Jurassic Express is who's going to cap it off. It's going to kick it off. And I think they're going to bring a lot out of FTR. I think we're going to get another classic on our hands.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's going to be a classic. Here's one to ponder. If Jurassic Express wins this Wednesday against FTR, they're going to have a case for an actual title shot. And
could have it on the anniversary show.
It would be good on the anniversary show, and it'd be great. The only thing is, the ranked teams right now are Omega and Hangman Adam Page, but really they got to update the rankings. Together. They got to update the rankings, because those guys aren't even a team anymore, right? That's obvious. It's obvious where that's going. And then you got Best Friends, who are number 2. You got the Bucks, who are number 3. And we know we're not going to see Bucks versus FTR heel on heel, which is good. I'm glad we're not going to see that. I don't want to see that. I want to see.
I think Private Party are still on the rankings too.
Well, we got Natural Nightmares, who are number 4.
That's it. Yeah.
And then we got and that would be, we know they ain't beating FTR ever. And then you got Proud and Powerful, man. Santana and Ortiz is number 5. I mean, those are some bad. I want to see Santana and Ortiz versus FTR.
The best. As he just screams it. God, wait, segue. Good Lord. I'm surprised you didn't say Dark Order, but now available at AEWSPARK.com. You want Be in the Dark Order to happen on Mondays at noon? Well, you can wear a shirt now to support it. Well, I know what I'm buying, but anyway, sorry about that.
Oh, I thought you were never going to join the Dark Order, bro.
Oh, yeah, you didn't see that, right, Shane? Literally 1 point away in the predictions league. I almost freed somebody from it, but you, Cindy, and freaking Sean Bully were all against me, and I lost. All right? I'm part of it. All right. Join Dark Order. Yada, yada.
It's awesome, man. Best stable in the business.
I still drink that Kool-Aid. I'm still sticking to my Mountain Dew. And I'm still reluctant about it, too. But, hey, at least on the wild
drink purple Mountain Dew, bro. Throw some purple food
I don't know purple Mountain Dew anywhere near me yet.
Just throw some purple food
classic. I drink the classic green one. I got 2 cases of it.
Put purple food coloring in your green Mountain Dew, brother.
I don't mess with food coloring. Anyway, I will buy that shirt. But going back to what we said about the tag teams, the street fight, you're right. It could set a potential title match because Best Friends lost to FTR in that gauntlet, but this win could still keep them at the number 2 spot. If FTR beats Jurassic Express, that could be a tag team title match made for the anniversary show. Respectively, though, if Jurassic Express beats FTR, that puts them in clearly, I think, for a title match in the near future. Why not your anniversary show? I sense some big fans are going to go down during the anniversary show. And I could talk about the tag team fantasy booking next title match on that. But we got to talk about the title match that we know is going to happen at the anniversary show. After John Moxley and MJF put on a professional clinic and Lance Archer stood by what he said that everybody died, it's official. We are going to get on the anniversary show Lance Archer versus John Moxley for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. John Moxley, of course, PWI's 500, #1 wrestler of the year. Hell yeah.
Big honor. Makes sense.
And both these men have just constantly grown. This is not the match we're going to see at Wrestle Kingdom for the freaking IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, which might have
been a great match, though.
It was a great match, and John Moxley is still the champion, by the way. But these two right here, John Moxley says, I own pro wrestling. You're going to have to kill me. I'm basically unkillable at this point, or he feels unkillable. And Lance Archer says he's going to do everything he can to, well, kill Jon Moxley. So I know it's probably too soon to predict, but let's go ahead and talk about both men's mindsets going into this match and think about so far who's going into this championship match with more momentum. Shane, I'll start with you. We've heard from both the challenger and the champion this past week on Dynamite, and we're going to get a sit-down interview with Lance Archer this week. Good luck, Tony Schiavone or Jim Ross. Yeesh. With that being said, whose promo you think invested you more into this match last week, and who do you see going in this match with more momentum, the champion or the challenger?
Well, I think, first of all, let's call it right now. I think Archer's going to win. You can't have him lose again. Otherwise, he's just the guy that always loses in title matches. Ouch. Yeah, he's a monster. He kills everyone, but he loses in every title match. He has to win this match. He can't lose. All right,
well, you just put your pick out there right now. I'll make sure to remember that. Duly noted.
Yeah, definitely.
Lance Archer,
not changing it.
AEW World Champion, come anniversary. So I think you answered your own question. So Lance Archer definitely sold you more.
Yeah, Lance Archer. I think AEW. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and also too, my issue with I liked the Moxley promo. I did like the Moxley promo, but it seemed like, listen, I love Mox's promos, I do, but it seemed like just a normal Moxley promo. Whereas Lance Archer's starting to talk. He's starting to learn more. He's starting to learn more from Jake on how to deliver a promo. Eventually, you're going to see Lance outgrow Jake, right? You know. I think part of the purpose for the pairing was to teach Lance how to cut a promo.
Can't get a better promo than Jake the Snake Roberts.
Right? Exactly. So, but I think Lance is going to win, man. And plus, AEW needs to finally crown a AEW World Champion. Now, I'm not saying that Jon Moxley's not an AEW World Champion, but he was World Champion elsewhere. I'm not saying Chris Jericho wasn't an AEW World Champion. Right. But, like, you know, I think it's time that Lance Archer win a damn big match. I mean, there's no question for me that it's time for him to win. It's overdue. The guy was a draw in Japan. He proved that he can put asses in the seats there. So he's a safe bet here. He's interesting as hell. He's a monster. If anyone ever, like, if a guy ever, like, if Lance Archer is world champion and you want to make a star, you could have a guy like Darby Allin beat Lance Archer, and that would instantly make Darby a star. I'm not saying if Darby beat Mox, he'd still become a star for sure. Mox is a first ballot Hall of Famer anywhere. Oh, yeah. But we've seen Darby work Mox a lot. Mox is also proven to not be indestructible. Think about Hogan. What made Hogan a star? Yeah, beating the Sheik made Hogan kind of a star within wrestling. But what made Hogan a star outside of wrestling was beating Andre the Giant, because Andre the Giant was an unstoppable monster.
The slam heard round the world. WrestleMania 3.
You blink and you still see it. You could have a moment like that with Darby and Archer. But that's like I'm totally projecting in the future. Yeah. But I can't see if you feed Lance Archer to Moxley, even if they have a competitive bout, even if it's the best match ever and Lance almost wins and Mox has to cheat to win, it's still gonna send a signal of Archer always loses in the big match. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to see that signal in AEW, man. I don't think anybody does. One of the things that we like about AEW is listen to this conversation right now. AEW is hard to predict, and we don't want to get into prediction repetition patterns or patterns of booking yourself in a corner.
Right.
Archer's got to win. Unless Mox drops the title to someone else on the way, Archer's got to win.
Which could happen because we've seen before. They will challenge their champions before the actual #1 contenders. And people sometimes have beef with that. But again, it's like what you said a while back on Spark. It's a loose ranking system. And these people proved via wins and losses, they are potential real contenders that could become the next champion. Now, looking at the top 5 right now, up against Jon Moxley, that's up for some debate considering I believe 2 or 3 of them he's already beaten for the title. But with that being said, Dr. Bradley, is Lance Archer our next AEW World Champion? And I want to propose this scenario too. Guys, anniversary show. Big stuff has to happen. One thing yet to happen in AEW to push a storyline or really make us think. There have yet to be a disqualification finish in any match yet. Period.
Period.
So Dr. Bradley, I'm going to propose this to you. We know how reckless, how violent these two can get. Could this be our potential first match to go to potentially time limit draw because it will be within TV time, or disqualification, or do you suddenly see Lance Archer leading AEW into the next year as the world champion? Give me your thoughts towards this match.
I would be totally okay with seeing Lance Archer as the next champion. I could get behind it. He's a great worker. Pairing him with Jake Roberts, I think, has been a great move for his career. When you bring up the fact that we're coming up to the anniversary show and we've not had a disqualification, we've had
one draw, we've had 2 draws, and that's it.
Yeah. So, anniversary shows, in the world of professional wrestling, we like to make things memorable when we have these anniversaries, so to say. We want fans to be like, oh, it was on this episode or this particular segment that this happened. Fans will talk about it, years down the road. I'm going to throw a wild card out there because we keep teasing this, and I think we're going to see it.
Guys, I'm sorry, I have to jump off.
That's all
I
right.
got an urgent message.
Oh, dear.
Right, guys.
Well, I hope everything's good, Shane. And Shane, we'll definitely be in touch. We got to figure out a day to come together to do the 1-year retrospect of AEW Dynamite. That has to happen.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
All
Later,
right.
Doc.
Hey, Wells, everybody. We'll see you next time at AEWSPARK. God bless you, brother.
God bless you guys.
As you were saying, Dr. Bradley.
I think that we could potentially see a DQ. And I think that Mox will win by DQ because he's going to get attacked by Kenny Omega turning heel.
Whoa! The 1-year anniversary, the cleaner shows up and throws out the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match. Whoa!
And I've had conversations with some other fans on our chat group, Team All Elite, and a lot of us have concurred that we think that the right guy to take the title off Jon Moxley would be a heel Kenny Omega. I mean, he is one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world. You got to think about his run in New Japan. I know Lance Archer has had a great.
I was literally watching his G1 Climax matches with Tomohiro Ishii recently.
And I think, I think Kenny is getting ready for a singles run. I think he would be great money for the company. I think him being the next guy to take the title off Moxley, it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, imagine having a full gear too, full circle, in an actual championship match versus the unsanctioned match from last year.
It would just be. It goes back to that coming full circle, so to say.
Literally 1 year, period.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
you could build so much story with that. Last year we engaged the most brutal match and we took each other to the limit. Well, now it's actually going to be for the title. We're going to really find out who the real badass is here, so to say.
I mean, he suddenly called him out with his run in New Japan Pro Wrestling when he was just the best bout machine, and we saw what that became.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got a pure, full, cleaner Kenny Omega and AEW that really wants to permanently end Jon Moxley and will do anything in order to do it, and then possibly the Bucks back at his side, the Elite, Bullet Club, full circle in AEW. That would be bloody insane. I like that a lot. The bottom line is this. The anniversary show happening in October, something big has to go down. And honestly, you might have called possibly the biggest moment that could happen in 2020 that would cause people that I know in wrestling joy, like the Duchess of AEW, Carol, who is a huge Elite fan, probably cause her to have a heart attack. But either way, I like that a lot. Okay, so we talked pretty much about everything, including the Lucha Brothers probably dissolving, Pac probably returning, Pac versus Eddie Kingston possibly having, Matt Hardy and his new mindset when he comes back. I'm glad he's okay. I'm sure Rebby's still not happy. Reba's still my favorite from that tooth and nail match. I love the performance. But let's talk about the biggest moment to happen this past week. As a wedding is coming up, the first in AEW's history. And so far when it comes to setups for contract signings and big non-wrestling moments, they have yet to flop on any of that to be like, oh, God. So I have no idea what to expect. And I sure as hell did not expect this guy to be the best man. I love how they build it, but I love more so who it is. Freaking Miro is in AEW, and he is all elite. Not only did he claim it in his promo, I made it official, and apparently he's been all elite once again, like Brian Cage, for a long time, as he told Sully on his YouTube channel. But freaking Miro, that's one of the biggest names out there in wrestling today, and that is a powerhouse. Now, I have no idea how far this dynamic between him and Kip are going to go. I have no idea what his first match is going to be. I have no idea who's going to try and ruin this wedding, because you know there's going to be a wedding crasher, one way or another. But, Dr. Bradley, give me your thoughts on the fact we have Miro in AEW. What the hell is going to happen next?
Well, I mean, we make these comparisons going back years and years ago with what was the WWF and WCW. It's like when WCW got another guy, from the WWF, AEW is taking another
former WWE guy and brought him in AEW.
Well, and it's not just a hot talent and a great talent. It is a talent that was a completely blown opportunity on the part of the WWE.
Damn right. Happy rest in peace Rusev Day. Happy Miro Day. I'm just waiting for them to get any English. If they get any English, I'm sold.
Yeah. So you go. I don't know if you heard this interview or read up on it, but apparently, what really discouraged Miro, who was Rusev at the time, was I think his merchandise was like top seller at one point.
It was literally selling out.
Yeah. And he tried to make this case to Vince McMahon, who just didn't seem to really care.
Nope.
Because I hate to say it, but it's almost like what they do in comic books. It's, these writers pitch an idea where they want to do with a story, but then like your chief editor will be like, oh, well, I like this character better. They do the same thing in wrestling. It's like, you want to build this great story with these specific talents, and then you get the top CEO or whatever is like, well, I like this guy better, so you're going to do it with this person.
We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're not going to change the format, even though he has potential to be a top tier star. I don't care. Work with what's been working that I know works. I don't want to take chances.
Yeah.
And Miro pretty much said it straight in his promo. Take that brass ring and shove it up your ass.
Well, and apparently Chris Jericho actually wrote that and told him to go ahead and say it. And apparently Miro was like, can I actually say that here? And Jericho's like, yeah, you can say that. Well, you can say anything here. And
people still find it hard to believe how much AEW literally is unscripted.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of it, because it's, the talent there has the opportunity to be themselves. They're not going out there and, just rehearsing these lines.
They're not being cast a role. They create their own.
Yeah. And there's something organic about that. And when you think about the state that wrestling is in, we've had these conversations on Team All Elite. About how wrestling is not as popular as it used to be. Well, to make it as big as it was, you have to go back to what made it work. What made these fans want to tune in every week? What was special about that time frame with wrestling in 1997, 1998? What made it bigger than the NBA? What made it compete with the NFL?
The unpredictability, the organic nature, the real fulfilling investment you get, and the fact that you didn't have spoilers from every dirt sheet.
Well, I think the other thing that you have too is you had some of these larger than life characters that were relatable, that you could believe in.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one character either. You had a choice.
Yeah. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, blue-collar redneck worker who wants to stick it to the man. And you got to think about how many people, and it's been said before, how many people just wish they could walk into work and say those things to their boss that Austin said to Mr. McMahon on a weekly basis on Monday Night Raw.
And then he literally lit the fire with the first ever stunner and the 2-finger salute.
Yeah, and and you have these moments that really just changed history. So what you have to do now is you have to create new moments, and you have to reinvent yourself. And I think that's what makes Chris Jericho such a key player for the company, is he knows how to reinvent himself. He knows what will work, what won't work. And I think that's why he has so much freedom and say with what happens in a lot of these segments and these matches, because clearly, people talked about that promo that Miro gave. And when you go back and read that it was Jericho who's the mastermind behind it, it worked. People talked about it.
It really did, because Miro came in with some ideas, and Jericho's like, yeah, you can say that here, because Miro was unsure. But again, Jericho encouraged Miro, be yourself, be what you want to be here, say what you mean, and go with it. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, he literally says, elite recognizes elite. My name is Miro, and I'm all elite. And you recognize what I bring. If you watch me on Twitch, you know I'm the best gamer. When you watch this, you know anybody in this ring, I crush. And I was like, you sold me.
So how many times did you watch that? Because that sounded almost word for word what he said.
Maybe 5-7 times just today, because I still can't believe Miro's in AEW. And I love the fact they chanted, Miro Day. Dude, I was one of the biggest supporters of freaking Rusev Day. Seeing that entrance live for Rusev Day, hearing the crowd chant Rusev Day, that is a top-tier star. WWE dropped the ball on yet another incredible talent just because they didn't want to try and create something new or have something possibly bigger than some of their other bigger names. Because let's be honest, I'll be honest with you, I'm a fan. When I used to watch WWE, when I figured about what was on during the main event, or when I figured about when Rusev was on, I care more so about the Rusev segment sometimes during shows than the actual main event, and he wasn't part of it.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing.
Uncapitalized potential is the biggest flaw in WWE. I could give you a lexicon. I know that's not an actual thing for a list. I actually looked up the definition for that. I can give you a list of how many people I believe have so much more to give to WWE, to me as a fan in both wrestling and character-wise, that this company is just not realizing or trying to capitalize on. But that's a conversation for another day. Bottom line is this, Miro and AEW, I cannot be happier. That was definitely my happiest moment of the week. And of course, it was number one moment of the week. As now they literally list the moments by clip, literally just saying it on the clip, because apparently Jen Decker was, I guess, doing other things. I wish her all the best. I enjoyed her retrospectives and recaps. But yeah, and now Miro's the best man, not a best man. The best man, as he also subtly put. Okay, maybe I did follow this promo a bit more than first anticipated, but I'm just super excited to see what Miro's going to bring now. I already know what he brings as a wrestler. Now I want to really see how much character he will bring to AEW.
Well, and it's the best man is
the best man.
It's that example that I've talked about of taking something that's been done but throwing it at you in a different way. Think about, Bret the Hitman Hart, the best there is, was, never will be. CM Punk, the best in the world. Yep. You got Chris Jericho saying, I am the best in the world at what I do. You have all these people that say they're the best. Well, now you've got Miro. He's the best man. This is something that's kind of new. So what's it mean to be the best man? So this is something that you could really explore with his character as he starts to develop and become his own within the company.
Yeah, so beyond this wedding angle, which we know once this wedding angle passes, we're going to see a whole different side of Miro that will still prove why he is the best man.
Yeah. And eventually it's going to be, and I am the best man to be AEW champion.
And that is the ultimate goal I can see. But again, you got the thing is that people criticize AEW for the very beginning. You don't have some heavyweight hitters. Look at them now. Wardlow, Brian Cage, Miro, Lance Archer. That's 4 super big heavy hitters right there. Just give it time, folks. AEW, they're going to give you what they want. I'm not just talking about the best friends when they hug. So I think we pretty much covered everything to come on Dynamite with the exception of, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Heyman and Page is going to go one-on-one up against freaking Kazarian. I want to go into this angle. I think about SCU's mindset. They are one of the leaders in why we have all these tag teams, okay? They're the EVPs of the tag team division with the Young Bucks. Let's be honest here. But I feel like they have a heavier influence on the tag team division than the Young Bucks when you think about the fact they were our inaugural AEW tag team champions. They went through a number of teams. They went through a different dynamic as a duo versus what you would think. And now we're back at the conventional duo of what I thought was going to be the tag team champions to begin with. That influence. Frank Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. But SCU has had some rather mixed fortunes, but I still feel like tag team gold is in their pursuits. But this match interests me here. Hangman Adam Page in singles action against Frankie Kazarian. In my opinion, Frankie Kazarian has a huge idea of potential to be a single star too. But again, the one that he's pursuing that is Scorpio Scott. I like his theme. That reminds me of Run DMC. Thanks, Kevin. With that being said, Heyman Adam Page, he wants to try and bring the band back together, literally. But also right now, he needs to really focus on himself and build himself. He's no doubt has a chance to be a top-tier babyface in the company if he's not already considered one, even though he just drinks and always has an attitude and leaves. Then I got Frankie Kazarian, who always has these great singles matches, has mixed fortunes. He fell short to John Moxley. He beat Angelico, though, on Dark. Now he's facing Heyman Adam Page. In my opinion, this match right here, it kind of feels like a must-win for both, but only one can win, clearly. So give me your thoughts on this match, Dr. Bradley. I don't know about you, but I feel like right now, just because we know him and Page, he is a great single star, but I don't know if he's going to go in that avenue. It feels like to me for Kazarian, who's probably shifting gears between maybe tag team focus and singles focus, it feels like Frank Kazarian could use the win here more, but I don't see him getting it. But give me your outlooks on this match. And what do you think's next for SCU at this point? They were out there for FTR Celebration, but do you still see tag team gold aspirations in Daniels and Kazarian's future?
Well, when you look at SCU, you have had some good singles matches with Frankie Kazarian on their own and Scorpio Sky on their own. But when you look at the booking of AEW, you see those two guys go and wrestle singles competition, but then SCU tends to kind of come back together at some point. You look at Hangman Adam Page. I think we're heading into a redemption arc, so to say, to turn him into a mega babyface. I think that right now, especially if you've watched not only the segments on last week's Dynamite, but being the Elite, not just this week's, but even the previous week's episode, he's kind of an emotionally scarred character right now, and he's just kind of drowning in his sorrows, drinking. I think that
there's the drinking. I was about to say drowning in sorrows. Oh, you mean drinking? Yeah. He's probably been at the bar at least one other time since that interview.
I think that all the events we've seen in the loss of the tag team titles and all the taunting from FTR, I think that all that is in his head.
Oh, yeah.
And his mindset is going to cause a loss to Frankie Kazarian.
And then it makes me wonder how Frankie Kazarian is going to feel about this. Yeah, because right now, Page, but also I think about Cage's not only mental state, what's his physical state? Is he 100%? Is Kazarian going to capitalize on that too? We're going to see more aggressive Frankie Kazarian. Because I don't know about you, but you saw the way they came together when they were with Private Party in a bar, go figure, for shots. I like their theme. But it seemed like Frankie Kazarian more so was more about you guys follow our lead, and we'll make sure we get this win, because in the end, we just want to win. Frankie Kazarian right now just seems like a guy that wants to win, period. It seems like he's going towards a very dark, aggressive path to get there, too. So, honestly, like I said, it does feel like Page needs to win more, as you put it, towards maybe redemption towards his past sins that he truly feels sorry about. Question is he going to be sober during this, or are you going to still be drinking, all right? I wonder if he's going to come out with a drink or literally get a drink afterwards. Like, how much of this is really a turn for Page? Is he still the same troubled millennial cowboy? Best-selling shirt now on AEWShop.com. Cheap plug. Yeah.
Well, one thing to consider, and one thing about wrestling is that, and a way that I describe wrestling to people that aren't wrestling fans that don't really understand, that want to know more about it, is I think wrestling is very much like theater in a lot of ways.
Oh,
And
definitely.
you go back hundreds of years ago, wrestling was something that really the more upper class people, would watch, because it was basically theater. So you have a loss on the part of Hangman. You get one of these moments where in like a play, the light is shining on that character, and they have that moment for monologue, and you get this really introspective moment that allows the audience and the fans to really gain some sympathy, or really dive into the mindset. I think, a loss to Kazarian is a real opportunity to drive more the narrative of what they want to do with Hangman going forward.
Yeah, I see a point there. So we already discussed the best friends to Tanner Ortiz. They'll be in a parking lot fight, not brawl, parking lot fight tomorrow night. I'm curious to see what the setup for that's going to be. Like, bring a car.
That's gonna be good.
They're going to fight like throughout a parking lot and just wreck people's cars. I hope they're insured. I'm curious to see what we're going to see in that crazy match. Maybe Sue will literally show up in another car and be the difference maker. We got FTR versus Jurassic Express, as FTR is out to, get a little bit of revenge after Jurassic Express ruined their championship celebration. We got Thunder Rosa defending the NWA Women's World Championship against Eva That is sure to be an amazing match. All these women, of course, proud of Latina heritage, doing it for the people. I'm sure it's going to get a ton of time, and it's once again to show what this AEW women's division is going to bring, or trying to bring. Eva will be protected, strong defeat, and I don't doubt that Diamante is not going to be far away from Eva corner, because these two, they're together. They even have a tag match coming up on Dark. We also have Chris Jericho and Jake Hager proving why they could be at the new AEW Tag Team Champions, as they take on Private Party. Private Party, who has been one of those teams really getting a lot of mixed fortunes. I mean, they fell out of that 8-man tag, but they won their match on the buy-in from AEW All In against, All Out, botch, against 3 and 4 of Dark Order. I'll give credit where credit's due. Alex Reynolds, John Silver, they are pretty darn amazing as a tag team when they blink together. So many tag moves for these near-fall combinations. I'll admit, they don't need the Dark Order gimmick, but they do really impress me. I will say that. But it sounds like to me, if you're going to continue this idea of Hager and Le Champion going for the tag gold, Inner Circle's got to get the win here. We got to get some sort of wins for the Inner Circle. 4 other guys are involved on tomorrow's Dynamite. The only one that's not, and we don't know what's next because I haven't heard anything from him, is Sammy Guevara. So give me your thoughts on this tag match. And honestly, what do you think's next for Sammy?
Well, before I give my thoughts on that, you made a comment about the street fight. You hope the cars are insured. I think for being the Elite, they should have Christopher Daniels out before that match, acting like a Allstate agent, being like, "That's Allstate, Stan. Are you in good hands?" I just want to throw that out there real quick.
I mean, Christopher Daniels advertises great products on BT all the time, but also Tony Schiavone, he of course endorses State Farm, which of course is a proud sponsor of AEW Unrestricted. So maybe a cheap plug, just saying. Commercial break, State Farm commercial. I'm Chris Paul, just saying.
50 plus seconds or 50 plus,
There's so much you can plug her during this. It's freaking brilliant. Anyway.
I agree, because, I mentioned earlier that I think that best friends are going to walk away with the victory, and you have to have someone in the Inner Circle come out on top. It makes perfect sense. Last week, Jake Hager and Chris Jericho announced they're going for the tag team gold. We need to get them off started strong, give them a victory, give Jericho something to bounce back off of after losing to Orange Cassidy. Hager and Jericho are 2 top guys in the company.
Oh, yeah.
They'll go over. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a squash match, so to say, but I think that they're gonna carry it. I think they'll be dominant for the majority, and they're gonna look real strong, and they're gonna look like top contenders at the very, very least.
Yeah, Hager's gonna choke out one of the members of Private Party. I can see it now for Shooting Star Press.
Yeah.
I still will say he does that in slow motion. That shooting star press is amazing that he does. But I've noticed lately when Private Party does the dual off the top rope maneuvers, one of them completely misses the opponent. I'm just saying, maybe they should stop going for that so much. Just saying.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we talk about MJF in action. No doubt he's going to continue to show why he is better than you, and you know it. Still claims he is undefeated because Jon Moxley had to cheat. And we'll see if Wardlow comes into play, or is MJF going to have Wardlow just watch on and look at how someone gets it done in the ring? Because we've seen before where he called out Wardlow saying, "Can you do anything right?" Even though, again, MJF's the one that botched the catch, just saying, but he'll never blame himself. And, of course, we got Heyman and Page versus Frank Kazarian. Maybe we'll finally get some more from the Young Bucks, too. Maybe they'll pay their fine, and maybe they'll actually send out an apology to Alex Marvez. Maybe we'll get something else from Dr. Britt Baker. Maybe she'll show up in her Rolls Royce or whatever and give some notes to Tony Schiavone. Maybe we'll get some subtle follow-up to Big Swole. Maybe Big Swole and Hikaru Shida will run into each other backstage. Though more so I can see Hikaru Shida and Tai Kanji communicating with each other backstage more so this week. So there's a lot to think about now as we literally are not only building towards a fully unique full gear with a lot of names you would not expect, but also we got an anniversary show literally, I think, a month from the day. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot to say about that. And again, we'll have to come together and do, I think we definitely need to do an AEW Dynamite or just AEW year one retrospect, because I don't know about you, but for year one in AEW Dynamite, there's probably maybe 3-4 major flaws I've seen during their year that I could talk about. And they've capitalized on all of them pretty much very well to a T. The least one, of course, being Matt Hardy. And again, I don't think we're going to be hearing Matt Hardy for a while. Will Sammy come out and support Chris Jericho? Even Power Boys, he's still like recovering, for all we know, from the hospital. I guess only time will tell. But with that being said, I think we've covered things. So, Dr. Bradley, any other thoughts, comments, remarks, or witty banters left before we close this edition of AEW Spark?
Well, I think that it's just an interesting time for AEW. Witty comment of the night. I think they went all out for All Out.
Yeah.
They really capped things off. So I think for the anticipation of the 1-year anniversary of Dynamite, it makes sense that they would want to start building these stories, because you want to try to increase the viewership. You just had over 1 million viewers last week, so that's a
time
huge...
since they've been literally born. I could not be happier for them. And again, all I care about is wrestling to succeed. I don't take sides, but I see bigger potential and more favoritism in other companies versus some. And JPW, my number one. Just saying. Continue.
So I think that they've hit a goalpost, so to say. So now it's like, all right, Tony Khan is going to be sitting back, with all his executives and all the top wrestlers who really are helping push the company, and they're going to be asking themselves, how can we reach higher? How do we get to 2 million, so to say? Or maybe they shoot for 1.5 million first.
I probably would try for 1.5, just to be fair, because I feel like that they can definitely. I feel that eventually they can definitely reach that. And it's funny you mentioned the unique setups, because let's face it, it's been a weird schedule lately for Dynamite now that other sports are back in play. We had a Saturday night, we've had a Thursday night, we've had I don't think we've had yet a Tuesday night. But we've seen when NXT moved to Tuesday nights, and we've seen how that has really changed viewership for it too. It seems that when wrestling is not being simulcast per se, it's better for the industry as a whole. So I'm going to close with this thought. Do you believe that AEW Dynamite and NXT should coexist among different nights with each other?
For the betterment of wrestling overall, I would say yes. I think that WWE needs to take their ball and go home and realize that AEW won that war. I think they need to reorganize and re-strategize what they're doing creatively.
Right.
NXT is a favored brand. If they put it on a different night, that's a night that maybe some of the AEW fans will decide to tune in. When you have more opportunity on different nights for fans to watch different shows, it's better for wrestling overall, because that's one thing we've talked about, and you said it yourself. It's not always about favoritism to one company. It's, let's get wrestling as a whole back to where it used to be. Let's make wrestling
enjoyable, fun again.
Yeah.
The fact that media has turned this idea of a Wednesday night war in 2020 has happened. I think it's ridiculous. I didn't see it as a war since day one. I just saw it as, oh, look, a new fun wrestling company that has a number of titles that I enjoy. Can I make it my still number one? And I still watch NXT. I've literally gone mentally drained watching both these simulcastly, but I choose to because I support them that much, because I enjoy these products in wrestling. This war idea was ridiculous from the get-go from me. That was just a media ploy, in my opinion. Even though Jericho and MJF were like, you're welcome, for the 1 point whatever million views they got this week. But yeah, I keep saying it. I feel like it'd be better if I just had a different wrestling show once a day, every week. And I felt like they had potential, and I forget who said this. Somebody said this in Team No DQ. They should just move NXT to Thursdays. They already repeat on the WWE Network 10 o'clock at night. Why not just play it live Thursday night on USA? We already got NXT UK coming back now on Thursdays. Make Thursday about NXT. Tuesdays can be my Dark and Impact days. Leave Wednesdays to Dynamite. I have yet to see a Dynamite, by the way, challenge Friday night. Now, that would be interesting if that ever happened.
Well, honestly, and I've made this comment myself, because I do like WWE, and I want them to succeed.
Same.
I have my criticisms, but SmackDown's putting on a decent show right now. There's some good content on there.
Yeah.
Not saying everything on there is gold, but there's some you can find some good stuff on there. Raw, I'm just not been a fan of lately. It's
my poor friend Megan Chiba. She loves Raw because of Shayna, but she's even disappointed with Raw because it's repeat matches and just messy storylines. Why SmackDown? They're trying to give us something different. Bray Wyatt's still my number one thing, but Roman Reigns has definitely helped boost the show. But again, we're going off in the weeds. But the bottom line is this. When it comes to AEW, NXT, I never saw war. I Fate the Bear on separate nights. You Fate the Bear on separate nights. So I think that's about all we need to say about that. And again, this Wednesday, jeez. But it is what it is. And I watch Impact Wrestling too. Shoot, I'm loving what Impact Wrestling's been doing since Slammiversary, and I cannot wait for Bound for Glory. Now Tuesday's even crazier because tomorrow night we got NWA Primetime. Come on, let me get a breather. Daggum it, I'm in college and I work. I can't watch all what I truly want to watch live because of this. But I do know this. The number one thing I am going to watch live, no matter what, because it's before I have to go to work and it's super early in the mornings, I'm watching the G1 Climax, damn it. And I'm definitely part of that WrestleJoy contest. And if you haven't already, folks, please support WrestleJoy. Join the Joy 1 Climax Predictions Pick'em contest. It's a lot of fun. You're in for the best professional wrestling you'll see all year long. That's what the G1 is. All right. Well, I think there's only one more thing to say, Dr. Bradley, because I haven't asked you. Who's getting the first win, Brandon Cutler or Peter Avalon tomorrow?
I was thinking about that earlier today, watching Being the Elite.
50 weeks we've been building this. 50 dang weeks.
The Bucks are getting kind of heelish here, and you saw on Being the Elite that Cutler wanted their support. I got a feeling that it's going to be Peter that's going to get the victory.
What? Peter Avalon, really?
I would like to see Brandon Cutler, personally, but my gut tells me it's going to be an upset with Peter Avalon.
Look, all I have to say is this. When I look at these two, and I said it since this became a storyline, and it's been one of the number one driving reasons I've always watched AEW Dark. God bless Lucha Base for trying with the initiative, too. If one of these two had to get a win, like their career depended on it, because theoretically it kind of does, I always thought it was going to be Brandon Cutler. Love the gear, love his in-ring work. It seems like he has the more potential to me. It seems like he's the one that can get it done. Peter Avalon, the best thing I know him for, besides being North Burnham and Impact Wrestling, because my friend Paul Mead, I'm just going to say it, he's a North Burnham mark, and he seriously wants him to win. The best thing Peter Avalon has going for him is his robe and his mustache. But I can see Brandon Cutler being part of AEW Dynamite towards even the TNT title. So if that has to happen for me to see, Brandon Cutler has to be the one to get the win. The only way you preserve this, because I know Leva's probably going crazy thinking about this, is if somehow, by some miraculous miracle or divine intervention, this match is a double pinfall or countout. Because I'm pretty darn sure this is going to have a time limit, and these two are not going to go the time limit. That's all I have to say about that. Because if I think about these two selling it in a singles beef, I see it with Leva Bates as the special guest referee. There, I said it. So if Brandon Cutler doesn't win tomorrow, it better be double countout or double pinfall, because I'll be damned if Peter Avalon gets the win. If Peter Avalon gets the freaking win, that would be the biggest shock of 2020 to me. There, I said it. All right. Well, with that being said, on that note, I think we officially have covered everything that goes for all things All Elite Wrestling and beyond, because we definitely went off in tangents, and I loved it. So I think we're done. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this whenever you choose to watch it or listen to it via YouTube Red, or even just check it out. We'll definitely go be back, like I said. Me and the doctor, Shane, I'm going to try and bring other people on here too. I want to try and put together a one-year retrospective special where we share our moments, our highs, our lows, our potentials to come for AEW in the future. As again, we are literally, I think, 1 month away now from their 1 year anniversary show, even though their actual anniversary was October 2nd, and I'm still confused by the dates. But again, probably sports-wise, that's why they did it. It's all good. But with that being said, till next time, Dr. Bradley, it was an absolute pleasure catching up with you again, sir. We definitely need to try and establish this again on a weekly basis. Anything you want to plug, and where can people find you?
Well, you know, I am on Facebook, and you know, people can find me posting on the Team All Elite page, and you know, just reposting things and making conversations. I mean, other than that, you can just find me being your friendly neighborhood pharmacist. You know, I had to twist the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and make myself sound like a superhero in some way.
I sound like you're going to Spider-Man for Halloween.
Other than that, you can find me. I use an app called Smule, where I record vocals of myself singing karaoke. So
I remember that app.
You can find me on there as RX Rockstar, because that's what I do. And I was working on the pipes today. So
I worked on my pipes yesterday enough at church, let me tell you.
Nice. We had a night of worship last night at my church, so we were singing then too.
Nice. Praise the Lord. Always. That's the driving force of me. Well, Dr. Bradley, again, God bless you, sir, and your pipes, and your overall wit and knowledge. This is an extreme pleasure. I look forward to doing it again. Before I give thoughts about me, I just want to give a shout, of course, to Team All Elite and those that weren't on here, but I know would love to be part of this, including but not limited to the Enforcer, Chase Jorgensen. Apologize if I screwed up your last name. The artist known as Mike Phillips, the Elite Hitman and current All Elite Heavyweight Champion, Mark the Griff, and of course his First Lady in Team All Elite, Ashley Reynolds. Shout out to my good NJPW friend, the always witty Gene, and of course the fabulous Brit himself, Scott Carter, and of course everybody else in the Team All Elite family that I might not socialize with you a lot or seen you on Spark, but I appreciate the support. I hope you all appreciate this, and I hope you all just have fun with this as well. And of course, shout out to your lovely wife, of course, Lindsay, who I know is just a huge supporter of you as well. So again, we're just all good-hearted people and wrestling fans. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. If people want to know about me, know more about me, Know this, though. I'm just a simple man and a lifelong fan of ... wrestling. So Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation. It's nfoster1916. Follow the Civil YouTube channel here for all things wrestling. Shout out to my ATW family on Twitter. YouTube.com/YouTube/NoFoster210. Upcoming content includes another live simple chat Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, of course, G1 Climax coverage. I'll be back Saturday to give you my simple take on G1 Climax Day 1. And as my good friend, the lovely Cindy G, please follow her at simplyc_OK just gave me. She just gave me bracketology for the NJPW Strong Young's Lion Break Crown tournament. So I'll be doing a simple bracketology and predictions on that later this week as well. Again, all my stuff, it's just all things wrestling. But if you haven't figured out by now, support Team All Elite, support WrestleJoy, No DQ, support for wrestling discussions, just support Private Wrestling. That's the heart of it, folks. And as always, support your wrestling outlets, big and small. Let's keep growing this incredible, diverse, unique, elite, authentic, unscripted, unrestricted, join the Dark Order, wrestling community together. Simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Hit the bell, know the video goes live on this channel. Hit the subscribe button, help me grow this channel. Shout out to all with 60 of you that's been with me on this fun YouTubers creation journey. It's not limp anytime soon. And next month, for me, it's actually my third year. Yeah, I think it's my 3rd-year anniversary as a YouTuber. So I might do a special simple stream and come out with new content beyond that too. But again, college and work, it makes times very difficult. I'm just happy and humbled to have been able to do this. Not only talk about my overall outlooks and just views on AEW, but with great friends too. So until next time, I hope you all take care and enjoy live. Tomorrow's never guaranteed, as good old JR says. That Shaw brand with good old JR was probably my favorite episode to date. I just love good old JR, man. Voice of my childhood. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. Treasure your families. Enjoy wrestling. Wear a mask. This is real. Please be smart. Please be considerate and aware of it. We will get through this together, but only if we do what's best for us and those around us in the name of safety, health, and well-being. Take care of yourselves mentally, physically, spiritually. If you haven't done a full gear challenge already, join us in WrestleJoy and whatever sort of pursuits you're going in for that. Know that there's a community that supports you too. WrestleJoy is one of the best things to come out of the wrestling community internet this year too. I sincerely mean that. Hi, Amy. So I'm done here for now. So thank you, everybody. And until the next video, I just hope you all be elite, stay too sweet, and have a good night.
And for all the viewers, thanks for being the elite. The elite.
Not copyright.
You gonna sing it with me, Noah? The elite. The elite.
What, Shay's not gonna come in and sing it with us? All right.
Yeah, come on. What's up with that?
All right. Yeah, it's all good. Join the Dark Order. All right. Bye, everybody.